Welcome to Crimeycade. I am the mad conservative crime fighter, Stephen Lucas, former Calvin Ghost Gamer of the Year, former or the 1991 Nintendo Campus Challenge national champion, and back for episode number 70 of the Crimeycade podcast. Well, got a bit. So last week, if we can get this slideshow up, now I gotta go hide that one. That is the wrong thing there. That should be. Why is that not showing up? There we go. My goodness, the video didn't want to go away. Anyway, last week our guest was Retro Randy Duncan. He does gaming, but he also does a lot in the wrestling side of things as well. I didn't know what I was going to get with him. I certainly don't want to make the Crimeycade a wrestling talk show because I'm trying to break away from the wrestling stuff. Although, jeez. Never say never, I guess, on doing a wrestling talk show since I paid for a stream account. But my time's limited as it is. Seems like I'm having to do so much because despite not doing, a weekly wrestling TV show anymore, but good grief. So, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. The interview might surprise you. You might learn a bunch of things, and I certainly learned a few things that I didn't expect to learn. Of course, some of the stuff wrestling related I wasn't expecting to know, but you know. Well, I'm going to talk about the challenge card in a second. All right. Well, elephant in the room right now. Next week's podcast is up in the air. I do not have a guest lined up for next Thursday. A couple factors in the mix is the following weekend is a show day. But also, I've been asked to volunteer on decorating a haunted hallway next Thursday and Friday, which I think the timing's a little bad because, I'm having to prepare for an event, and it's kind of inconvenient if I'm having to spend some hours doing decorating a hallway with a podcast and having to prepare for a show that's going to happen. So, I may not do a podcast next week. We'll have to see. Decorating haunted hallway, yes, it is for the special needs. It's for Hope School and special needs kids, and yeah, I've done it multiple years in a row. It's just a bad time this year, so I don't know. If no one steps up to do a podcast this Thursday, I guess that's what I'm going to do is volunteer to decorate the haunted hallway once again. So, if you know anybody who is looking to appear on a podcast, wants to appear on a podcast, has never done a podcast before, talk to me because I'm willing to have you on and discover gamers that are not getting the attention that they should be. And we're going to have one on this podcast that somebody has never been on a podcast before, is relatively new, just about, I guess, now into their sophomore year as a streamer. But we will meet him in a second. Other news, Aiden Cordova is the new Bloody Wars champion. He has all the belts. And he beat me! I had to go through all the Cordovas to win those belts, and Aiden beat me. Well, his father also beat me. So Devin Cordova was the only Cordova I was able to beat. And Devin is not as skilled as his father or his brother, so, or doesn't have the accolades that they do. But, I had a chance, but it just didn't go my way this year. So, the next tournament will be Sunday, October 5th at the Sportsman Arcade on Tekken 8. So, we'll see how that's going to go. So, another update that's something that's grinded my gears and directly affected me as a creator. So, YouTube has paid out $24.5 million for First Amendment violations against elected officials and a few creators. I've complained loudly that YouTube censored me. My videos were taken down because I didn't agree with the government narrative and these so-called medical experts like Fauci and that clown that runs the World Health Organization, who has really no credibility because most of the stuff they claim we had to do didn't do anything. It just kind of happened, according to Fauci. The 6 feet garbage? Yeah, just kind of happened. There's no science backing it. Yeah, Fauci said there's no science backing it. But me calling it out, anybody else calling it out, you have your videos deleted because you were putting out misinformation. It's real funny, all the people running around complaining about Jimmy Kimmel being off the air, and they didn't give a rat's rump about this. Really hypocritical. It's like, where were you? Did you even care? Or is it all about voting blue no matter who? And yeah, there is a pattern. There's Hollywood actors are throwing hissy fit about their speech being censored. Yeah, it seems like, it's okay to censor other people's speech, but it's not okay to censor mine. Because I know better than you do. Yeah, I know better than you do. So you deserve to be censored because you didn't vote the correct way. You didn't vote the correct way. And so you need to shut your mouth. You better be paying attention to us. You also better be kissing our asses too. And bowing down. Bow down to your rightful rulers. Well, guess what? YouTube paid out $24.5 million. So that's just the first. And I saw some people claiming it was a bribe. No, it's not a bribe. It's basically YouTube trying to avoid going into discovery. Because you know what happened with Twitter? When Twitter was bought out, we got the Twitter files and we found out what Twitter officials were, who they were having discussions with. People in the federal government coordinating to censor people. Yeah. So YouTube didn't want to go through the same thing that Twitter did. They want to have to explain, I don't know, the YouTube files. So you call it a bribe? Well, no. They're trying to protect themselves from having to go through discovery and having a lot of very embarrassing information come out about how they ran their platform. Because I'm pretty sure if even a quarter of the stuff they were doing ever saw the light of day out in public, they have a lot of explaining to do. A lot more lawsuits. And trust me, more lawsuits are going to come. I was one of many that was targeted by these whack jobs. Tell me what I can and can't say on the internet. What I can and can't say in my videos. I had to move some of my videos over to Rumble. I had to move some of my videos over to Rumble because YouTube decided to censor them. I don't have to move everything over to Rumble. And besides, and here's a new reason. By the way, he's getting antsy over there. I'll help him. Just kind of hang tight there. Hang tight. Welcome, Tracy, to the podcast. So this week I got this. I have to provide video verification or valid ID or channel history. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Facebook censored one of my posts claiming it was misinformation when it was an April Fool's prank. When I pretended that I was adopted out to another family because I got tired of arguing with my own family over COVID restrictions. It's like they were telling me I had to wear a mask and couldn't associate with them because, or have Thanksgiving dinner with them because I didn't wear a mask. And I was tired of arguing with them, so I just put myself up for adoption and announced that my name was going to be Stephen Michael Wheeler instead of Lucas, which got some people going. But Facebook, in their stupidity, initially didn't see the joke because it was April Fool's Day. And it said April Fool's in the post. But they still flagged it as misinformation, even though it was a joke. And they admitted as such weeks later. They reinstated the post. They should never have taken it down to begin with. They had no right to. So, you probably got notifications that you had to provide video verification of valid ID or channel history. Or they took some features away because I didn't have adequate channel history. Yeah, I have 18 years of video history that I posted to the platform. That's not enough. No, they want to start over from zero, and they want me to post 2 months of video history before they reinstate it. It's like, what do I... And really, this is all just an end around because they are trying to comply with the Online Kids Safety Act, which is a farce. They care about kids' safety. They wouldn't put controversial so-called kids shows on Netflix, which Elon Musk called out, and there's a mass wave of account cancellations going on this week. So, anyway, YouTube's gonna get sued again. I'm dead certain of this, and the censorship has not been applied equally. Next week, the CEO of Twitch will be Dan Clancy will be heading to Congress to testify about their content moderation. And guys like Destiny and Hassan Piker, why are they allowed to say the crap that they say instead calling for, murdering people on their pods? For my guest waiting and waits, yeah, I'm ranting about this because I was directly affected by this. So yeah, I'm a little animated about this. You could probably understand because you're used to being animated. Anyway, yes, there's gonna have to be more lawsuits because YouTube is not offering any reparations for videos being censored, and there's a lot of content creators that were making money off the platform and had all that taken away from them out of the blue for a lot of times BS reasons, very BS reasons. So YouTube's got a lot to answer for. It's not over yet, but the the first down payment has been made, and there's more to come. All right, on another subject, round 2 begins. Yes, here we go again. Carl Joves. He needs views, and when you get views, you get monetization from those views. And I decided to look up LUS, Tony Guro's videos, to see if he posted anything new lately because they weren't popping up in my feed. And here we go again. So Carl Joves lost his lawsuit against Billy Mitchell. Looks like he's going to be going to court maybe in the near future against Gerard the Completionist, because that was Carl's first target. And apparently there's been updates about Gerard. And all that money that he collected for charity finally got paid out, or at least that's what was claimed. There's just a lot of legal wrangling, or I guess there are some hoops to jump through to get it done. But Gerard's supposed to post a video soon on that subject, but it's looking like we might see another lawsuit, and Carl's hurting right now. Hurting pretty bad off that first lawsuit. So, I gotta tell him. So, anyway, stay tuned for this. This is gonna get very noisy yet again. So, maybe I'll talk about it in the next podcast when I catch up on videos on this subject. All right, score rundown, real quick. Not very many high scores new this week from the Galloping Ghosts. Matthew Rabick has retaken the house high from Andrew Owasco on Hopping Meppy, just under 50,000. There are only 32 levels on that game, so it is possible to 1cc it. And this may have been a 1cc score, but the only way to get the score up is to get some of the secret bonuses, if you can. This game, I know I have this game on one of my arcade 1-ups, but it doesn't play like Mappy, I'm telling you. So it is kind of tricky to play compared to the standard platformer. JP Pitts, as of today, set a new fastest time on Sonic Sega All Stars Racing. He's trying to get under 205. He got a little closer. Pete Hahn also returned to the arcade and raced his Iron Horse score. He's still trying to break 700,000. Got a little closer to that with 697. So there's not been many scores set at Galloping Ghost. What about other arcades? So over at the Arcadery over in the Czech Republic, they had a high score weekend stream, and LNG, don't know who that is, but they didn't specify this gentleman's name, but he got 295,900, which ties the arcade high score that was set at Underground Retrocade back in 2014. Congratulations to LNG, whoever that is. That was a tie, not a broken score, new record or anything. Fix-It Felix Jr. Has 39 levels. Once you complete stage 39, it goes to the kill stream automatic because they want the game to go forever. I do not know if that is the highest possible score, 295,900, but that certainly is a tie. Michael Kellner also played Raiden 2 and set a world record of 1.5 million. Yeah, 1,544,000. it's not 1cc. You got to stage 6. There's 7 stages before the game loops around. Recorded scores out there that were entered as world records. Nobody has a 1cc. No one's completed a loop of Rain 2, apparently, that I know of. House high at Galvin Ghost is like 600,000, held by Mossies. But Mikkel Kellner ran up 1.5 million, almost completed a full loop. He also played one of the Three Wonders games. That is a game that Galloping Ghost does not have available for play on the arcade floor, whether or not it's in the vault or not. It is not available to play. Gosh, I gotta talk about this too a little bit later, but I'm not gonna keep my guests waiting for too much longer. Midnight Wonder is 1.1 million points on that, and that is officially a world record. Over at Challenge Arcade, and that's over in Pennsylvania, Pang 3. I know I am familiar with that game. That is another game that is not available for play on the arcade floor at Galvin Ghost. Whether it's in the vaults or not, I do not know, and nobody else does. But Michael Citizen and Panic Mode got 1.4 million points on Pang 3. It's like it's another sequel to Buster Brothers. At another arcades, unidentified, of course, somebody by the name of Motoman 202 playing on the Suzuka track. Namco Final Lap. He also got the fastest lap speed. Another game that is not available for play on the Galloping Ghost arcade floor. Whether it's in the vaults or not, we do not know. I have to say all that verbiage because I can't, because they throw a fit when I say they don't have it. And they knew what I meant. Like they knew what I meant when I say it's not, they don't have it. It means it's not, but you know, TalkBack decided to do a bit more with that, but I will say it on the backside of this pod. Also, a new world record on Kangaroo. This was back in August. Yeah, well, will be funny if what game comes out next week. The game that I was talking about. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go ahead and show this. Hold on. I'm going to show the video. Let me find the window that I have this loaded up on. Stand by 1 second. You know, I'm not going to fight this any longer. All right. Here we go. This is what all the fuss was about. Let's play it. I don't know if you can hear it.
Fighter and attacker. Never heard of that. Really? Oh. All right. Yeah.
Just in case I have to do this.
Fly under the radar and never get seen in the wild.
Are you able to hear this?
You know, I can strip out kids and applications that you don't have that play the original hardware. So always looking for the things you don't have when I go on these road trips. Well, what we have on the arcade floor and what we have are two very different things. Just because you haven't seen it here on the floor and you're playing it at some other arcade somewhere means very little in comparison to what's in the vaults. Why? You know what I mean. Now, I don't know what you meant. You said we didn't have it. That's not the point. Well, that's not what you said. You said we didn't have it. Having on the floor, two vastly different things. Steve Lucas thinking, oh, I'm playing something unobtainable in another arcade. No, Steve. Okay. I know what game. What game? It's going to be a challenge. If you've got a Beezer in your vault, Beezer? You would be shocked. I would be shocked. Can you turn to your right, please? Can you turn to your right? What's to your right? You have, look to the, what are the 4 games? He's shocked if I have a Beezer. Stand next to a time traveler, a Holocene, a Marble Madness 2 Marble Man, and a War of the Worlds. Stephen Lucas. Not to exist. I know where right. I know where more of them are. Okay. Stephen Lucas.
All right. That goes on from there. But here's what the fuss is about. When I say they don't have it, means they don't have it available. They don't have it available to play. But apparently, I have to like give a very long statement about they want me to say they don't have it available for play on the arcade floor. Whether we have it in the vaults or not, only I know, or only Doc knows. Apparently, I have to say all of that. All of that. Because no one knows what's in the vaults. Yeah, they have 300 some odd games in the vaults. What is true, none of those are available for play on the arcade floor right now. They're in the vaults. Nobody has access to the vaults except Doc Mack and a few GGA employees. Nobody gets to see what's in the vaults except Doc Mack and a few of the GGA employees. They never show what's in the vaults. But Doc had quite a bit of fun having to roasting me over this because I said it's not on the arcade floor, and I said they would be shocked. I'd be shocked if they have Beezer in the vaults. Because last week, Beezer got unveiled as a Saturday mystery game at Winners and Losers down in North Carolina. Supposedly, there's only 3 of them out there around. So, anyway, the question is, and they did a bet on this. I don't know who they paid the bet to, but whether I was right that they have it or they're not right, they don't have it. I don't know who got paid out for this, but I know that to verify the winner, you'd have to show what's in the vault to show that Beezer is not in the vault. Regardless, what could show up as the Monday Mystery Game next Monday could be Beezer. Just so Doc can, I don't know, prepare to be more or something. I don't know. Or prove that he does have it. But the point was, I was going around looking for games that Galloping Ghost does not have on the arcade floor now. 3 Wonders was one of them. Chaos was another one. Oscar, Day East game, Robo Day East game is another one. Final Lap is another one. So there's a lot of games that Galloping Ghost does not have on the arcade floor. Do they have in the vaults? I don't know. We'll see. They paid up as if I were right. Okay. Because, well, we'll see. We shall see. All right. I'm not going to keep my guest waiting any longer. In fact, he's said to me that he's kind of nervous. Well, let me show this real quick. Shoot. There's one more score I need to throw on the screen. Also, a hearty congratulations to Gil Kong, who set the new world record on Kangaroo. That is a hard platformer. Not like Donkey Kong, but he got 966,000 points back in August. Also, Zybots, which was a T20 game, M. Termina, Termia, got 514,000 points on a single credit back in early September. So congratulations. And those are the high scores this week. There's more to come, hopefully next time. All right, without further ado, he has a relatively new Twitch channel. I put out the call for guests on my podcast, and he responded. He wondered if he was a fit for this podcast. Yes, he is a fit for this podcast because I play console games, and I played some of the games that he's played, that he plays on his channel. So, the Zeldas, the Fantasy Stars, the Metroids, the what else? Final Fantasies, the Tales series. Introducing from Canada, I believe it's Winnipeg, Ontario. Here is the RGB capper, Yuriy Roman Mokriy.
Hello there. Thanks for having me.
I got your name right.
Yes.
You had help.
Yes. Indeed.
So you're a relatively new Twitch streamer.
Yes.
You've only been at it for about a year.
Yes, I started up the stream in, the Twitch channel itself back on January 11th of this year.
So, give us the quick rundown. You call yourself the RGB capper. How did you and when you're normally streaming, there is a character that appears, and looks like I gotta throw this up on the screen again because I don't have it up. I should have. Well, the problem is I gotta switch between this, and this every time. I gotta share screen again. Oh, but anyway, you're a red bottle cap.
Yes, that is what my character appears as on the channel itself. So whenever I'm going to be streaming, I take up the avatar of the RPG capper, which is an anthropomorphic bottle cap who specializes in playing RPGs and caps them. Since that's his thing, that's the hobby he does, that's the hobby I do. I pretty much just like to play RPGs of various design.
What is she doing? My cats are doing something, and I don't know if they should be. Oh, she got in my closet because I left it open.
Oh, they'll do that.
There's a bunch of stuff. It's kind of stacked in there, and I don't think that's for her to climb on. Anyway.
Of course. Well, anyway,
there she's out. Thank goodness.
Okay, that's good that she got out. We don't want a cat stuck in the closet.
Anyway.
All right.
Go ahead. I see
anyway,
this guy here.
So what you see on the screen is my cartoon VTuber avatar, because these animated avatars, we call them VTubers or virtual YouTubers for short. But now that terminology is a little outdated because these guys are these types of cartoon avatars are not mutually exclusive to YouTube anymore. They can go on many different streaming platforms, including Twitch. So this is the one I've created for myself, just to entertain my audience on my own Twitch channel as the RPG capper. So again, what he does is, and pretty much what I also do as well, since I provide his voice, is that we play RPGs of various design, be it either turn-based or action or strategy. It depends. And unlike other streamers who play RPGs on their stream, my specific gimmick for this channel is to play every RPG to its absolute maximum, as in get to the final level, get the character capped, as so to speak, because that's the slang term when it comes to reaching the final level in any RPG. you
Max
cap.
out.
Yeah, so that is also would explain another thing about my character avatar. He appears as a bottle cap because he's a metaphor to that particular gimmick.
And this
with
game right here, I
Mhm.
believe, is Fantasy Star, correct?
It is not Phantasy Star. This is
Oh,
actually called Final Fantasy II
oops.
for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which is really Final Fantasy IV, but it got rebranded as Final Fantasy II when it was released back for the Super Nintendo in 1991.
I
And
knew it existed, but seems all the attention right now is on Final Fantasy VII, the remake.
yes, because Final Fantasy VII is the most mainstream of the series. I mean, it's because of Final Fantasy VII that RPGs have officially become mainstream now. Because before that game came out, they were relegated more to a niche audience for console and PC. But that all changed when Squaresoft at the time put out this massive, massive advertising campaign on television, in gaming magazines, and because they put out a lot of money into making that game because it was a major 3D RPG at the time, and it went over like gangbusters. And then after that, RPGs became vogue with the mainstream gaming audience. They loved what they saw from Final Fantasy VII. It spurred them to try the first 6 entries in the series and also try also the other subsequent entries as well. So there you go. And I've been playing RPGs since I would say the late 80s. When the very first one I played was Dragon Warrior for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I loved that one. And then from there, it just grew from.
Dragon Warrior was easily attainable because their Nintendo Power put this offer out that if you, I guess, did certain things, I guess it was like so many year subscription, they would send you a free copy of the game.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
yes,
there's
yes, because I do distinctly remember that Nintendo gave free copies of Dragon Warrior to all of their subscribers of Nintendo Power at the time. Because, many Nintendo Power subscribers actually thought that this was cool that they were getting a free game just by being subscribed to the magazine itself. The reality was that the original Dragon Warrior video game did not sell very well, and they had all these excess copies like sitting in warehouses.
really
Yeah, and they didn't want to pull an ET by throwing all those games in a landfill in New Mexico. So Nintendo decided to try something clever. They decided to give away free copies of the game to their subscribers of their magazine, and as a result, people subscribed to Nintendo Power, and they just filled out the little card, mailed it in, and roughly 68 weeks later, they got their free copy of Dragon Warrior in the mail.
and then they were playing it
They were playing it.
as I was.
Yeah. So I mean, Dragon Warrior itself it's a quaint game. It's a decent little RPG. It doesn't take too long to clear because the cap for that particular game goes up to is level 30. So once you get to level 30 and you max out the experience accumulator at 65,535 points, because that was kind of like
Integer.
that's an unsigned integer. That's an unsigned integer variable that was pretty much common among programming in the time. So so when you tend to play games and the counter stops at 65,535 points, it just means that it's been declared as an unsigned integer variable. So I have a little bit of knowledge like that because I used to do some programming in university, and there you go. That's just something that I carried over from there.
So let's talk about you.
Mm-hmm.
We did have it. I will say we had a discussion last night
Yep.
because I was needing to find out a few things because you were kind of nervous coming in here and you wanted to do the pod, but you were worried about some other folks at the
Yes.
time. We
Yes.
won't go into it because you got to keep that private.
That's private, but I will just let you know that that's all cleared up now, and they're pretty much cool with it. So that's
cool.
much
I don't have
say
to
about
worry
that.
ever again with it.
Mhm.
Hey, cool.
Yeah.
We talked last night, and you got into gaming actually a younger age than me.
Hmm.
Tell me about it because you told me when you played your first video game, and uh, it wasn't until I was like 8 or 9, but you started even earlier.
Yeah, I started playing video games at around 3 years old because my dad got us an Atari 2600 Junior, which the one with the rainbow stripe on it,
Yeah,
and he was buying like video games for me like every month because it was already I was born in '82, so by the time I got my first console in 1985, I mean it was already past the video game crash of
yeah,
'83. So stores were unloading their video games at deeply discounted prices. So my dad was able to get like a new game for me every month at like $5 a pop. So I was
yeah,
able to amass quite a decent Atari 2600 collection. And some of those titles included the Atari 2600 ports of Q*bert, Donkey Kong Jr., Crossbow, Mattel game, one of the Mattel software division's games called Space Attack was another one. I also had Pac-Man, Missile Command, Asteroids, all
yeah,
those classic games, and a sports game called Atari Real Sports Baseball.
yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. I've actually had some friends over to play, and after all, it was. I mean, the games themselves, they can pretty much give you like between 5 to 30 minutes of entertainment at best because back then those are the technological limitations can only like give you so much entertainment. So
Yeah, unless you're playing a game like, I don't know, Pitfall or Pitfall 2.
yeah, yeah, and or you can even extend the playtime just by adjusting the difficulty on the Atari 2600 for the game, since they advertise like having these such and such like 36 video games or 3 video games on when they advertise in the box. And all you have to do is just press the different settings on the Atari 2600 to switch between difficulties and whatnot, and then after that you can get a new experience for the game itself. So yeah, so
Yeah, the difficulty switch. Space Invaders had 112.
yes,
Maze Craze about 256
mm-hmm,
variations,
mm-hmm.
which is a lot. How big did your collection get on the Atari 2600?
The Atari 2600. That's a very good question because I it's the memory is now very vague as to how many video games I had in total. I believe I may have been like 20 or 25 or Atari 2600 cartridges. That's a rough estimate because now I'm having difficulty remembering a few of the titles at the time. I mean, I would really have to sit and think for a while to just recall every last game that I've had because it was the 1980s.
Don't worry about recalling all of them because my collection right now is a couple hundred, and
Mhm.
there's no way I'm going to recall all of them. I can tell
Yeah.
you all. If you named a title, I could tell you if I have it or not, and you ran down a list, and I had every one of them.
Mhm.
Some of the games you did rattle for the 2600. Good grief. Donkey Kong Jr. for the Atari 2600 is kind of, compared to other ports, is kind of sad.
It was. I mean, you just had this big brown moving blob of a sprite that's supposed to be Donkey Kong Jr., and you just had to move him up and down. There are no fruits to knock off to land on those
No,
little snap jaws that Mario sends after you. It's just you just have to try to make it to the vine that has the key to free Donkey Kong in his cage. And Donkey Kong was notoriously bad looking for the console because he looked like the gingerbread man.
I don't know to describe that way, but
Yeah.
the second screen was even worse because it was like, oh, there's only 3 keys, and you couldn't move to the left or right. It was just go up or down and avoid the birds coming at you. It's
Yeah,
like,
you have to avoid the bull.
oh,
But
gotta
here,
be kidding.
yeah, and the sad part about that stage is that the while in the arcade and in Nintendo Entertainment System version of that game, the birds come at you at different heights. While in the
Yeah,
Atari 2600 version, they're just on the bottom row, and they just move from left to right, and that's it. They don't come up after you, so it's not much of a challenge just to clear that stage.
because of that, they threw in a third stage and they did the so-called electric board,
Yep.
which is glad they did that, but still, it doesn't seem to redeem the rest of it.
Yeah, and But I also remember reading up on some of the development history of these games, and the developers at the time were severely pressed to get the game done within like 3 or 4 weeks. Like they only give you like 1 week
Oh,
of development, and after that, the game has to be done. It has to be there has to be a ROM chip that put in, installed in the cartridge, and it has to be ready to be shipped out to the stores. And yeah,
so they
yeah,
basically they gave us slop.
yep, there was plenty of slop at the time, but and so yeah, you have that. Well, thankfully, we didn't have that with the Activision titles for the 2600 because at the time,
No.
Activision at least I mean, they treated their developers well. I mean, you had like guys like Dan Kitchen,
Yeah.
they and we also had who gave us like great games. We also had like we had Pitfall. We had like I think Decathlon was another one, which destroyed joysticks from what I remember. And
It's best played with a trackball.
yep,
If you have a trackball controller, you can roll it left and right repeatedly, and because
yep,
those daggum Atari joysticks were just not great. I
yeah,
prefer the Apex 500 joystick for play on an Atari 2600. It's kind of like an arcade joystick in your palm.
yeah. And the thing is the interesting thing is like I had plenty of Atari 2600 joysticks, but they malfunctioned pretty quickly. I mean, there have been the very first one I had, the original one with the little red button on the corner and the big black stick in the center. Um, I mean, it was kind of difficult to use, and at some point it kind of broke to the point where I can move my characters left, right, and down, but not up. It's just it wouldn't go
So
move it up. So
yeah, I had to buy replacement parts for these Atari joysticks. That the insert that goes underneath, that goes inside, that pushes the membrane contacts that makes you move. That plastic does break,
yep,
cracks, breaks, and you have to put another one in there till it cracks and breaks, which is why third-party controllers were so great. And I was
yep,
so glad that they put out third-party controllers so I could. And then the Apex 500 stick was, they designed that thing where if it does break, it's not going to be done from jerking the joystick around unless you're very rough on it.
mm-hmm,
You break the top of the stick off because move it and it just hits the contacts just right. It's like kind of like leaf switches or micro switches on an arcade game. It's
yep,
how it feels.
yep, yep. Yeah, and there was also another particular stick that came out. I think it's called the Slick Stick, and I believe that a lot of Atari 2600 owners swear by it. They actually said it has the best response time, and it actually could take a lot of punishment.
Not familiar with that one.
I think it has a very strange spelling to it, like which for marketing purposes. So it's SLIKSTIK. That's how they spelled it when they were when they pretty much released it on the market. So it's called a slick stick. Also, and also in terms of other controllers, I have seen the paddle controls, but but when I had the 2600, I never had the paddle controllers. It was just a joystick, so I wasn't able to play some good paddle games like
Break.
Breakout or Warlords.
Yes. So the PAL controllers had its own little bit of issues after playing so long. When you're turning the dial left and right, it kind of what jiggles.
Yep.
I don't know what the reason for that is. Maybe it's dust, dirt. Don't know. You
Yeah,
have to
and
take it apart to clean it.
that's right. Then that's the pain when it comes to using those controls. Like after a while, you're gonna have to start giving them a good maintenance check to make
Yeah.
sure that the contacts are registering, or you're just gonna have to either just do some good cleaning, maybe some soldering, perhaps even
Yeah.
and yeah, and then you have to put it back together. Then just do a test run to see if it's registering on screen in the whole 9 yards. Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're a kid, you're not exactly
Oh no.
You don't have
Yeah.
the training in electronics.
Nope.
You're
I had to have
certainly
my
not
dad do it.
using a soldering iron.
Nope, I had to have my dad do it. So yeah, and so he had to repair the joystick plenty of times. So yeah, um, I and also since in the days, you also couldn't even rent Atari 2600 games. So I had to literally, if there
No,
were
you couldn't.
additional titles I wanted to play, I had to borrow them from some friends.
Now, years later, of
Yeah.
course,
Oh yeah. I mean,
Nintendo did, well, you could rent Nintendo games
yep, you were able to rent
from,
video games
I
at
don't
video
know,
stores.
Blockbuster or where else? My area, we had Prestige Video.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We had lots of video stores in our like here in Winnipeg as well. So if you went into a video store, there was a separate game rental section, and I used to go to this one video store that it doesn't exist anymore, obviously, but it was called Star Time Photo Video. It was a total franchise around the city, and they had a really good library of Nintendo games to rent out at the time. So, but if you couldn't find a particular title in one store, you had to go to another video store to see if they had that, or call them ahead and see if they have it in stock. And back then, renting video games was a really major event. I mean, it was exciting. I mean, because then I had the chance to even try out a new game that I've never played before and see how it fares on Nintendo Entertainment System. Since I also owned a Nintendo Entertainment System back then too.
Well, Nintendo wasn't too thrilled with that idea because,
Yeah,
they didn't want people renting games. They wanted them buying the games. So they
they
threw a
wanted
fit over
Yep.
that.
And from what I've also heard, they made particular games deliberately more difficult because they wanted to dissuade people from renting them. That's what I've heard.
Really?
I'm not
I
sure
heard
if
that
there's any
one.
proof to that though. It's just something I've only read up online. But if somebody out there can actually confirm for me, I would love to hear.
I might have to go. I may have to reach out to Blaine Phelps, who I had on my pod so many weeks ago, who used to work at Nintendo, and ask him if that's true.
Hmm.
I'm sure I'll get a response from him.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. So we would. So
I
even
better write that down so I don't forget it. Where's my
Mhm.
pen? I'm gonna write that down. Were games made harder to dissuade people from renting? That Well, here's another thing. There's the Game Genie. So if
Yep.
they were making them harder,
Mm-hmm.
that was counteracted by people pulling out the Game Genie and using the cheat code for unlimited lives to get through the game.
That's right. I had a Game Genie as well, and I used it all the time for a lot of the games I rented. And I mean, it was a lovely little peripheral to use because some games really were that hard, and I wanted to beat the game. I wanted to see what the ending was like.
Well, there were some games that I thought were absolutely horrible.
Yep.
Deadly Towers.
Oh, I know Deadly Towers.
That game is, you can play it for a while, but if you ain't get far in it, forget it.
Yeah, the thing with Deadly Towers is that when you try to attack, you can't attack multiple times at once. You have to wait till your dagger hits the enemy before you can throw another dagger to hit the enemy, and it really just makes the battles very tedious. And also if I remember correctly, you can lose all your hit points or your energy very quickly just from maybe 2 or 3 or 4 hits from the enemy. And
I
don't
did
get me
not care
started.
for it.
Yeah, and there was also some jagged edges where you could easily fall off and it's automatic game over.
Yeah, and another thing, somebody tried to make an impassionate defense of this game, and I just called him out on it. It's like, I played through all the game using a cheat code. It is not as good as you claim it is.
Yep. I mean,
it's not underrated whatsoever. It's bad.
It's bad. I had to use the Game Genie to finish the game, and because that's how hard and how hard and ridiculous it was. And there's also another thing I want to add to that game. Like, if you were to wander in any strange corner, you automatically get teleported into this dungeon where there's like endless rooms that you go into with monsters that are like 10 times more powerful than what you face outside the dungeon.
Wow.
And the only way to actually leave the dungeon is to I think you're supposed to use this magic spell and then find a room that has a special warp circle. You stand with the warp circle and you just activate the spell to get you out of the dungeon. Otherwise, you're just wandering those dungeons forever.
Yeah. So back then, we'll kind of backtrack a little bit. Did you say who was buying the games earlier? I don't think you did. Was it you buying the games, or was it somebody in the family that was buying the games for you?
I was a kid back then, so I couldn't make any money. So
right.
So I had to have my parents buy me the games, and that's only if I did well in school, or they bought me some for my birthday, whichever's. But I had a few titles for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I had the action set, which came with the Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt cartridge pack-in. And it came 2 controllers, the side loader control deck, the zapper, which was the one that I got was red colored, which was gray colored for obvious reasons, and also on top of that, my dad also got me Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. He got me Metroid, Mega Man 4, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, and Final Fantasy. So those were all the Nintendo games Nintendo cartridges I owned as a kid, and I had some pretty good times with those games. And but although some games were pretty difficult than others, Castlevania 3 is notoriously difficult of a game. Notoriously difficult. As a matter of fact,
I don't have it, by the way. I don't have it. Yeah. I played through number 1. I had number 2, but I didn't finish it. I got it late, but used. But then I had a bunch of other carts, and it's like I never got into it because there was other games that were better.
Yeah. So because Castlevania is a pretty tough game. But there was also an interesting thing about Konami games for Nintendo at the time. Like their games were short, but they also looped whenever you completed the game. And every time you looped, the game was made harder. So they did increase the difficulty every time you complete the game, and it loops around back to the beginning. So it was like that for Castlevania, for Contra, for other games like Gradius and Life Force. Like anything that was published by Konami under their old silver box line, that's what you're gonna get. There was another difficulty loop in Castlevania 3, but hardly anyone ever wants to tackle it because it really was that much more difficult, because the first loop alone in Castlevania 3 is tough enough as it is. When people beat it on the first loop, that's good enough for them. They don't want to do the second loop, myself included.
Well, they consider they beat the game.
Yeah, they
like,
beat the
what
game.
does the second loop have to offer from the first loop?
Yeah, just from additional, unless people wanted an additional challenge. And there were also additional enemy sprites that were exclusive to the second loop. So I guess there was that, but at the time I'm just glad to have beaten the game. I was glad to have at least beaten Dracula. That's it. That's all I care about.
Well, if you want a real challenge, that's different from all the Castlevanias for the consoles. Play Haunted Castle, the arcade game, which was the first official Castlevania released for the arcades. And boy, is this hard!
Yes, I have played Haunted Castle. I haven't played it on the cabinet. I had to use the MAME emulator to play it. But there was like a couple different dumps of that ROM. There was like an easy version and a hard version. The hard version, you're pretty much, I think you get hit two times and that's it, you're dead. Or maybe 2 or 3 times, I don't remember. But I do know, but the easier version at least lets you get hit like perhaps 5 or 6 times before your character dies.
Well, the bats go in a straight line also instead of bob up and down, but I will say that the easier version is the Japanese ROM.
Yeah.
The American version or the European version, they upped the difficulty for some bizarre reason. They didn't think it was hard enough So it's usually the other way around. Is the Japanese ROM's harder than the world version, but this time
Yeah,
around, Haunted
yeah,
Castle Japan is probably going to be the one you want to play if
that's right.
you're trying to play it all the way through.
Yeah, because I know the rationale behind why they had to make the arcade games hard because they wanted to entice more people to pump in the quarters because quarters are revenue. So you want to keep having that money get pumped into the machine. So the arcade operators can actually get their quarter revenue, and the players just have the means to continue playing the game. That's right. That's pretty much how it worked. I mean,
Well,
you
Core
know,
Chasers, it's horrible because you have some of these changes actually kind of ruin the experience.
yeah,
What is Dark Adventure? Um, they ruined the experience when because they had the health drain go much quicker because they wanted you to pump them quarters in. But if anybody wanted to try to play for a 1cc, you can't.
mm-hmm,
You'd have to play the Japanese ROM, which is only 2-player.
mm-hmm,
The health drain is in half, but there's still a health drain, which
yeah,
people didn't care for, and that game was not as successful as it could have been if they
mm-hmm,
had not had that ridiculous health drain rate, which is why the high scores for Dark Adventure aren't very high. It's like
mm-hmm.
over 100,000. Well, if the health didn't drain like all the way down to zero in the span of 30 seconds before depending on whether you got any health pickups or not. I mean, them games were only you got 3 lives. Well, you only got 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, much.
Mm-hmm.
So they were. Konami was really being jerks about things with that game.
Oh yeah, they really were. I mean, of course, if you want to talk about them being jerks, I mean, you play track and field, and you're gonna have to match that button good. So to the point that you're gonna have sore fingers afterwards.
Well, so they tell me I've had some people tell me how to play the game to get further, and for the original track and field, yes, you like don't have to tap both buttons; you just tap one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are people who can marathon the game. I know that. The sequel, I've had trouble trying to do the triple jump on it to get past.
Oh yeah,
It's like I
track.
can hit it perfect and still
Yeah,
not get the points because
track and.
it's 88 games. This was that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, track and field 2, I've played on the Nintendo Entertainment System. That's a button killer. I mean, the only way I can really build up the energy to do those jumps or even just perform the tricks on the bar or whatnot, I'd have to like rub my knuckles on the B and A buttons repeatedly just to get that energy bar up. Because just pressing alone doesn't increase the bar substantially.
Well, I also hold my controls like this. I don't know how
Okay.
you were holding the controller, but the cross and the A or B button was pretty much your runs.
Okay.
But when I hold the control, everybody held this control a different way. A lot of people hold it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody taught me how to hold this controller, so I had to figure it out on my own. I determined to hold it like this. Because I have these fingers rocking the cross and these 2 buttons punching this. And
Wow.
the thumbs holding the back of it.
Yeah, because I always used to hold my controller like this, like
There's
just
this.
cradling my index,
Thumbs.
use my thumbs like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you hold it like this, I don't know if you've ever held it like this, but
Nope.
you might have an easier time
Okay.
with a game like Track and Field.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. So next time I play track and field, either 1 or 2 on the NES, then yeah, I'm gonna give that a shot.
I will
All
say
right.
Track and Field 2 was not as good as Track and Field 1. Because it was not based on the arcade game, it just was kind of an original creation.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
and
like.
didn't play as well, my
Mhm.
opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, I think they just made Dragon 2 just an NES exclusive for
Yeah.
that, so they didn't want to do it in the arcades. Okay. Yeah. So the more you know on that. So yeah. So there was all sort of all that was being played on Nintendo Entertainment System, but I also just wanted to touch more base with the RPGs that I played, which actually inspired me to be the RPG capper. So like I said, as a kid, I played Dragon Warrior, and which I didn't own it. I just simply rented it
Yeah.
from a video store, or I actually had some friends that had it, so I just borrowed it from them. Just played it through to the level cap at the time of level 30 and
Mhm.
65,535 experience points, and with full equipment. And that got me to the Dragon Lord, where I just slayed him, collect the Ball of Light to restore peace of land, and win the game. There we go. So,
Yeah.
but when it came, but at the time, I mean, I also noticed that, well, you didn't necessarily need to hit the full level 30 just to win against the Dragon
Mhm.
Lord and win the game. I mean, people were able to do it like at level 20, or even some challenge runners might even try to do it even like
Speedrunners.
yeah, speed runners challenge runners like maybe at level 18 or 19. But I've just been accustomed to capping because I just wanted to make my character the best he can be with all the equipment, just so I can have that guarantee that he can go in, beat the final boss, win the game, and I could just simply just end it with a memory of that kind of accomplishment. So it just gives me that sense of accomplishment, and that sense of accomplishment just it stays with me to this day as an RPG, as the RPG capper, because I want to show to the masses that even though like RPG capping, like capping role playing games of all sorts, is a difficult and tedious task, it is not impossible. It can be done. And while others may not be interested in doing such a task, I'm the one who will take up the task. I have the discipline for something like that, and I can show everyone that it can be done. So, and of course, I don't mind it. I mean, I don't mind the grind, so to say. It's like, yes, it is tedious. Yes, it is arduous, and it's repetitive and monotonous. But I'm accustomed to doing something like that. So, of course, so if you want to see if it's possible to get to that final level that not many people are interested in getting to, just to show that it can be done, that it's possible, I'm the guy you turn to.
The biggest challenge with Dragon Warrior was finding the other cursed item, the so-called Death Necklace.
Yeah.
When I played through the entire game, I had to uh, look up how to find it, and it was well hidden. In fact, you couldn't get it on the initial run of a particular dungeon. You had to get it much later,
Mm-hmm.
but you had to go back to it to even get it. So,
Yes, I'm well aware of the Cursed Belt and the Cursed Necklace. So I think that's pretty much how they call that in this version of the game, because back then the terms like death and blood were big no-nos by Nintendo of America. They would have to censor the dialogue. But
well,
yeah,
crosses weren't allowed either,
yeah, yeah.
which is why a game called Demon World was never released in America, even though
Mm-hmm.
it was just pretty much a Pac-Man clone with a disco dancing demon on the top of the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
That's silly, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, I know about religious symbols having to be censored from Nintendo games at the time because Nintendo had a very strict no religion policy, but some games managed to sneak past that. I mean, Castlevania was allowed; they had crosses in churches in the game. Interestingly enough, how they
But
managed to get one,
but
yeah,
Konami was the publisher, not Nintendo.
they published it and then Nintendo merely licensed it. But at the time, I don't think Konami just informed Nintendo that there were these particular symbols in the game, because maybe they just wanted to just try their luck. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know the exact details of how they were
I
able to
will say,
that one, but they did.
I will say, if you compare Karnoff for the NES, compare the the American version with the Japanese version,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's a whole slew of cutscenes in the Japanese version that had kind of a religious storyline, and they cut all that out, including the ending of the game,
Yep.
which was it's like you ruined the game because you're worried about somebody getting offended. Like, give me a
That's correct.
break
Yep. I
and
even
harm
I
the
agree with
game
100% on that
ultimately.
one.
And here's
The parents were paranoid back then. I mean, you did have something called the Satanic Panic back then, and apparently this. I have a feeling that might have also contributed to a lot of censorship of video games,
I
even though.
don't know if it was that much of a deal in the late 1980s compared to the early part of the decade, but who knows?
Hmm. Yeah, but then you had these. I mean, the censorship policies then were very paranoid. I'll give it that much. I mean, you look at it in retrospect, you're like wondering, really, this is what
Yeah.
people were just upset about. This is what parents were scared of. I mean, at the end of the day, they're graphics on a screen. It's not like your kids are gonna start up a cult or anything.
Well, we also got denied games like, I don't know. Here's an RPG. You probably might have heard of this.
Okay.
It's by Capcom,
Hmm.
known as Sweet Home, which was
Yes.
the precursor to Resident Evil.
Yes, it was an inspiration of Resident Evil, just like I also think Alone in the I think Alone in the Dark might have also been another inspiration for Resident Evil as well. But yeah, Sweet Home was definitely the inspiration, and it was a horror-based RPG, which also was done. Um, it's supposed to also. I mean, that RPG was just made just as just as a game adaptation of a horror movie in
Yep.
Japan by the same name.
Yep.
I think that horror movie is also available to watch on YouTube if people are interested. So,
It is.
yeah. So that game will also be tackled on my channel at some point because I do want to give this a try and see how it's like. So yeah, and so but yeah, the whole blood on the walls, the whole just the demonic depictions and everything, and I think also religious symbolism. Yeah, that would have definitely have not have
You know,
been that would not have flown back then with U.S.
yet they license a Friday the 13th video game
Yes, you can
by
see.
LGN, which is supposed to be a kid-friendly toy brand, but they released a Friday the 13th, which you're basically battling Jason and murdering all the camp counselors or whatever. It's like,
Yep, they actually managed to release that because of how iconic the Friday the 13th franchise was in America, and LJN. I think they may just have more. Well, how would I put this? Craftier businessmen that managed to convince Nintendo to put out a game like that on the market.
yeah,
Same with Nightmare on Elm Street as
yeah.
well. And yeah, so I remember the Friday the 13th Nintendo game very well, since you have Blue Mask Jason and him wearing a purple jumpsuit.
Well,
Yeah,
they had to make it. Well, we were dealing with 8-bit graphics here, and can't
yeah,
have everything black.
yeah. I know, but it's still hilarious to see like this teal masked Jason in a purple jumpsuit just stalking camp counselors, and you have to just run around Crystal Lake just to hunt him down so he doesn't kill off any more kids.
Right.
Oh yeah, and then of course, then you had Nightmare on Elm Street, where you had to just go around to different locations all around on Elm Street, gather the bones, and then incinerate them in the furnace while trying to avoid Freddy Krueger at all costs. I mean, the one thing I'll at least give that game credit for is that you do get the iconic 1-2 Freddy's coming for you theme in the game. I love that.
Yeah. So so I didn't even get to the point. What? So you started playing games at 3 years old.
Yep.
What was the hook on RPG games?
The hook on RPG games is, I guess, it's just the story of.
Well, what? Actually, I meant. Yeah, you can continue with that answer, but I kind of meant. what game hooked you on RPGs, and then yes, why did it hook you on RPGs?
So so the game that really got me hooked on RPGs in the first place was the original Dragon Warrior for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh, okay.
And it just lets you be a hero who's supposed to go around saving the kingdom from an evil dragon. And you know what? I had it was just this desirable. It was this this desirable drive to just want to explore this world with all these different beasts inhabiting it, and you wanted to see how much you can fight these beasts, to how much these in the points that you collect in terms of experience and gold to add to your pool. I mean, it just this made this development towards your character as you go on through the game. It it drew me in. It just drew me in. I just really wanted to. I'm playing this character, and I want to make him stronger so I can access other areas, face off against even stronger enemies, so I can finally face off against that Dragon Lord at the end.
Right.
It turned into a passion, like an obsession, a hobby, and from there, that same kind of passion, obsession, just resonated with every other RPG that I came across, because I wanted to because new RPGs mean new stories, new scenarios, and you just want to play out that story, and you just want to see what amazing abilities your characters can have, so that they can enact those abilities in battle against other characters, like controllable and non-controllable, and just see how it unravels, so that it can create this wonderful experience that you can cherish in your memory. And yeah, that's where it went from there. And I found myself more attracted to RPGs than any other genre of video games. And it also just then culminated. We're all the way up to this year, where I'm now being the RPG capper.
So from see, a lot of people, Dragon Warrior being the first RPG you played, or at least the one that hooked you, is interesting. Of course, maybe did you have anything prior to that, like I don't know, Legend of Zelda, because that came out first.
Yeah, I played Legend of Zelda as well. I mean, it's not the turn-based version. It's not as turn-based as Dragon Warrior is, but it does also have that action adventure element as well that I also like. And yeah, that is also another major game that I actually enjoyed, just to see about how I can explore that particular world, just so I can go and defeat Ganon and then just win the Triforce and free Princess Zelda from his clutches. I mean, as I stated before, I had Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link as well for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was different from the first Zelda games. It's unlike the overhead exploration element, this was more like a side-scrolling action RPG. Yep. And so so in terms of the first RPG I've ever played, well, again, was Dragon Warrior, but that's the first turn-based. The first action RPG I played was Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So that
start with that one instead of the first one. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I don't know why. I mean, my dad just got me Zelda 2 instead of Zelda 1 at the time. Maybe it's possible that the original Legend of Zelda was sold out at the time, and he went with Zelda 2 instead. So, yeah, but that's okay. I mean, I know that Zelda 2 gets harped on a lot because it doesn't have the same mechanics as the first Zelda game. But yeah. I mean, it's considered a black sheep of the family for a reason. But I actually don't mind it. I actually enjoy. I think the controls are tight. There's a lot of different varieties of magic spells you can use to help Link get through his Hyrulean adventures, and there's also many different other characters and enemies to face and see how they help Link just complete his quest, so to say.
I will say that Zelda 2 wasn't the only side-scrolling Zelda. The Zelda games that get the most flack are the ones that came out for the Philips CDI.
Yep, I'm familiar with the Philips CDI. I've seen gameplay videos of those Zelda games. I've seen a gameplay video of Link, the Faces of Evil, Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon. There's something. There's something.
I think the only time that we get to see playthroughs of them is when Mossy Zagobian does his yearly charity stream where they marathon and play every daggum Zelda game ever created until they complete all of them, which takes about 2 weeks.
Yep. I mean...
oh, go ahead.
maybe at some point, I probably for an April Fool's stream, I might just play at least one of those Zelda CDI games, just for the experience.
Yes. So what are some of the other RPGs you played for the consoles?
So other RPGs I played throughout the years was the original Final Fantasy for the Nintendo Entertainment System. My dad bought me a cartridge back in 1993. So I also enjoyed that game very immensely. And also I played Final Fantasy 2 for the Super Nintendo. I've rented that. That was the very first Super Nintendo game I've ever rented when I got my Super Nintendo. I loved it so much I rented it twice. I didn't beat it the first time around when I rented it, so I had to rent it again like later in that same summer of 1995. And then there was also Final Fantasy 3, also which is Final Fantasy 6 for the Super Nintendo. That's a beautiful, beautiful game. One of the best RPGs ever made because it has a memorable cast of characters, world, fantastic villain, and a different and magic system like no other. And so other ones include the action RPG Fazanadu for the Nintendo Entertainment System. There's Phantasy Star for the Sega Master System. Interestingly enough, I have not tried the Sega Genesis Phantasy Stars yet. It's only the first one on the Master System that I've played and finished. But I do intend on playing the other Phantasy Star games somewhere down the line. Let's see what else I have also tried. I have tried Final Fantasy VII for the Sony PlayStation since that was the big mainstream RPG that got everybody into RPGs. So
yeah.
I tried a little bit of Final Fantasy IX. But I've not really gotten as far as the first town because apparently it was shown as a demo at a convention, and I just simply tried it out for a bit before I had to.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VIII I've never tackled. I watched a friend of mine play it, but that's about it. And let's just see anything else.
Metroid?
Metroid, yes. I owned a copy of the first Metroid game on the Nintendo. I had Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. I never played the Game Boy Metroid. I had to download a ROM just to play the Game Boy version because I've never actually had a Game Boy or played any other games for it. And I've never even played any physical Game Boy RPGs. I just had to download ROMs for them. So I have played Final Fantasy's Legends 1, 2, 3 for the Game Boy, as well as Final Fantasy Adventure. I played Secret of Mana. There's Chrono Trigger, which is considered to be one of, if not the best RPG ever made. So, everyone knows Chrono Trigger. The game has celebrated its 30th anniversary this year. And
never played it. I know what it is, but I never played it.
Oh, if you ever get a chance to play an RPG and you're in the mood for an RPG, you got to try Chrono Trigger.
I will say, I didn't have an Super NES. I had Sega Genesis. I don't have Phantasy Star.
Okay, because it's not just Phantasy Star that was on the Genesis. They also had the Shining series called Shining. There was Shining in the Darkness and Shining Force, but Shining Force was more like a strategy RPG.
Yeah,
so to speak. So you just command troops, face off against enemies, and depending upon the victory that each of your troops get, and your heroes get, they pretty much level up accordingly. So there was that. There's also Fire Emblem. That's another strategy RPG series. I've only tried.
I do have the GameCube version of it. It's a good thing I got when I did because now that thing's cost. Wanted a copy of that, you're going to be paying a couple $100 for it, maybe more. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
I have the Metroid and Metroid Prime 1 and 2, maybe 3. Good grief. I knew he was going to join sooner or later.
Yeah, your cats decided to join us today.
Yes, this idiot. The real star of the show. The real star of the show. I also had Crystalis. I believe you had that on your list of games that you've played.
Yes, Crystalis is one of the games. That's an action RPG. It's actually one of the it's a crown jewel from the SNK development era, and it did come out on Nintendo. it had a very weird little story to it. It's like supposed to be like this big post-apocalyptic event that occurred, and the magic had come back, and now there's like this evil emperor that wants to use the magic to take over the world. But there's also
Yeah.
technology involved, and you also have to, not only once you take out the emperor, you have to go face off against a supercomputer. So there's like a
Yeah.
mixture of technology and magic in that game. But it's a very, very fun game, and it is definitely worth trying out. So I played that on my channel. It's been cleared and capped. So I definitely enjoyed my time with that one. Because honestly, because this is also another thing I want to touch base on, because whenever I play role-playing games on RPG Capper, the Capper will pretty much just alternate between two games. One is being a turn-based and the other being an action-based. So the turn-based means that you enter commands just to execute. You enter commands just so your characters can execute different functions on screen, be it in battle or outside of battle. But while in an action RPG, you just have your actions are just coordinated in real time with button presses. Which, like, you press a button, you swing your sword like that. Something like Crystalis and Legend of Zelda do. So yeah. So there's barely any commands in action RPG. You just use your directional pad and press buttons just to attack the enemy and or block and cast magic, and there you go. So yeah, so just like this that we're seeing on screen right now. So this is Crystalis from the Nintendo Entertainment System. So yeah, and so your character here, he's unnamed in this game. I've given him like the name of RPGC just to pretty much just name him after me, but
Right.
he has a real name of Samaya, and but he awakens from cryogenic stasis just to explore the world and help bring it back to order from the Dragonian Empire. So this is a story. And so you see he gets his first sword of wins. You get all these different swords throughout the game that help you in your little adventure with different elemental powers, which work on some enemies, but others don't work on certain enemies. So you have to mix and match when you're very faithfully against the different enemies in the game. So yeah, there's this it is considered one of the crown jewels of the Nintendo Entertainment System. People really seek out this game whenever they want to build up a good NES collection. So that's the thing. I mean, if I were to try to play these kinds of games on real hardware, I mean, due to their ever-growing scarcity, it can run me up into hundreds of dollars, even get into the thousands of dollars, because you first got to get the console. You have to make sure that it's furbished enough that it can play the games. That you got to find the game itself, make sure that it's in good working condition, make sure the battery still works, because some games can have batteries that can erode over time, and therefore you can't save your progress
unless you take the card apart and replace the battery, which may not be so easy. And now these NES games are like 30, 40 years old now. Well, let's see. Yeah. Almost 35 to 40 years old now.
Yeah, see how fast time flies. And
good gosh. I've not plugged in my Legend of Zelda card to see if the battery still retained the saves or not. If it did, I'll be shocked. Now, the Super NES games, you kind of do need that battery because, jeez.
They're longer games, yeah.
They're longer games, yes, but Zelda 1 can be played in its entirety on one sitting. This one might be a little harder may take a while to do that.
Well, Crystalis. Okay, so Crystalis is roughly a 10-hour RPG. So if you were
so it can be done in a day.
Yeah, you can have it done in a day as long as you know exactly what to do. So you can start out this game at sunrise, and then you can have it done by sunset.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So like I said, it's not just a Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Genesis and Master System, like those were like the major consoles at the time. But I do also want to give honorable mention to a console called the TurboGrafx 16, which was released by the Nippon Electronics Company, or the NEC, like back in 1989. It only ran for a few years. You had to go into some specialty stores to get it. I mean, the Radio Shack sold that console at the time, along with their games. At the time, those games were pretty much on little cards, little chip cards called cue cards, and
Yes.
then came the CD peripheral, which allowed you to play CD games. Which then would you have you have motion video, you get voice acting, and all that. Back then, it was for kids like us, it was mind blowing to hear
Right.
actual
Plus, it
speech
had
of the
some
game.
games that we didn't have on the Genesis or the Super Nintendo. Obviously, the Monk series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's unfortunate because there were a lot of fantastic games that were made in Japan that didn't even get released here initially. I mean, if you really wanted, there are some games that. Let me just see what other games that we were kind of denied here in the U.S. at the time. But it might. I'm not sure if it was just a result of the console just already losing favor in the U.S. market or whatnot. But again, I mean, there are probably better experts out there that can answer this question better than I can. But I'm only just looking at my personal observances here. So there was some. There was the E series. The series is like spelled capital Y, lowercase s, and it's pronounced E's.
The
So
Wise.
yeah, Y's. That's how.
Well, I know. I
Yeah.
could have sworn we got one of them in this
Okay, we
country.
did. Okay. Okay, there was one released for the Master System. What we're seeing here is the Famicom version of it. The Famicom version was never released here in the U.S. But there is a fan.
Well,
Yeah, there's a fan.
I don't know about. I think the first one was.
Okay, because East Book 1 and 2 was released for the TurboGrafx 16 CD-ROM. That was released. That was definitely released in the U.S. That one I know for a fact because it was part of the launch titles to help show off the great powers of the CD add-on.
Right.
Also, there was also another East game called East 3 Wanderers from East, which is now known as Ofenfeldgana for all the modern role-playing gamers. But back then, East 3 actually got a multi-platform release. It was one for the Super Nintendo, one for the Genesis, one for the TurboGrafx 16 CD-ROM drive. There was even a Famicom version, but that one didn't get released in the US, while the other was for the SNES, Genesis, and the TurboGrafx 16 did. So there is that. I mean, but the other installments just didn't get released at all because apparently I think they just didn't sell well enough to warrant more ports.
Officially, the English releases, only 3 Wise games was available in North America. Wise 1, Ancient Wise Vanished, was released for the Master System, MS-DOS, and the Apple II GS.
Yes.
Y1 and 2 was released for the TurboGrafx CD, and Wise 3, Wonders from Wise, was released for the SNES, Genesis, and TurboGrafx CD.
Yep.
That was the English ports of the game.
That's right. So these ones were action RPGs. But unlike the ones for Legend of Zelda and Crystalis, the system works, as you can see on the screen here, is that the main hero has to collide with his enemies to hit them and defeat them. So they made use of a specific system called the bump system, where you bump into the enemies to hurt them, but you have to bump into them at a certain side or a certain angle, so you don't end up taking damage yourself. But that's not always going to be effective because there are some enemies that just stand perfectly still, and you have no choice but to make a head-on collision into them and risk taking damage just to get them out of the way. But
so you're basically shoving people around.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, you're just being you just have to oppress yourself against the enemies just to beat them. So yeah,
he's not using any weapons or nothing.
Oh yeah, well you have a weapon that you can get, but it's but in this screen, the character was not who has a name of Adel Christian. That's how they call him in this game. But you have to if you equip him with this sword, you see an animation of him wielding the sword. But over here just shows that he's just fighting bare knuckle against the enemies, which makes it a little bit more tougher. And
he's wielding a sword too. Let me jump ahead here.
Yeah.
kind of halfway through the game.
Yeah, there. Now you see him with his sword and shield, so it would make him a little bit more easier for him just to face off against these enemies and beat them and collect the experience and gold afterwards. So yeah, that's pretty much one of the features of the E series, was that you're supposed to collide with your enemies to beat them. Now there was also another game series that had that feature in a way, but you have to really hold a particular button before you can literally collide into them and hurt them. It's called Hydlide, and it was not a very popular series here in the West.
No, I don't think it was either.
Yeah, because the only highlight that games that were released in the West during the 20th century was like there's the highlight for the Nintendo Entertainment System. There was Super
Cat
Highlight.
just bit me, by the way.
Your cat bit you.
Yes.
Oh boy, did he draw blood?
I'm checking. Maybe a little.
Oh boy.
He has a history of doing this. So yeah. Well, he left a dent, but thankfully it didn't seem to do much. Thank
Okay.
goodness.
Just make sure
Stupid
you're okay.
Ginger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ginger.
he's bit me on the face before too. And
On
he's
the
attacked
face.
me. He's blindsided me a few times. When I'm at this desk, he would come in from another room and just blindside me viciously. And did
Yep.
it twice in 1 week because he saw something outside that really upset him. So he comes into another room and he did bleed. Yep, I am bleeding now. Lacerated. God, stupid cat. I'm going to make this full screen. Whoops. I'm going to make that full screen. We'll keep talking. But go ahead
Okay.
and describe this game while I kind of rinse my wound off.
Yeah. So while you're treating to your wound, I'm just going to explain what's going on here. So this is High Life on Nintendo Entertainment System, and it's widely considered to be one of the worst RPGs ever released for that system. For good reason, because number one, this particular game made use of a 10-second tune that just repeats itself over and over and over again, much to the chagrin of the players. So if anyone actually even wants to play this game without losing their minds, they'd have to play this game on mute. Another thing is that this game requires you to press a button and hold it down while you collide with the enemy in order to hurt them. So if you're not holding a button to attack the enemy, you're automatically in defense. But if you hold the button down, then you can go into attack mode and then face off against, and then just run into the enemy and just from a certain angle. And then after that, if you're lucky, you might be victorious. But the enemies in this game will take off a lot of your hit points. I mean, you could be dead in 2 or 3 hits if you don't approach them from the correct angle.
There was a sequel put out.
Yeah,
Super Highlight.
It's actually called Super Highlight, and ironically, it was never really wasn't released on the Super Nintendo. That was released on the Sega Genesis. So this predated this game. The Super Highlight game predated the Super Nintendo by a good year before Nintendo put out the Super Nintendo and maintained and got exclusivity rights to the label of Super.
But it wasn't highly received either, was it?
No.
It was.
Yeah, and then there was another Highlight game released for the Sega Saturn called Virtual Highlight, and which was pretty much a reimagining of the first Highlight game for the Nintendo Entertainment System and the MSX home computers. So as you see, I mean, this particular game was actually based on an NES release, on a Famicom release in Japan called Highlight Special, which is just Highlight, which is like a souped up version of the MSX version of Highlight. Only this time you can use magic, because in the original MSX versions of the game you couldn't use magic for your character. And then there were a couple of other MSX and PC-88 sequels of Highlight, which there was actually a Highlight 2 and a Highlight 3 for the PC-88 and the MSX home computers. So so it's apparently the game series did surprisingly well in Japan. So Japanese players were able to connect with this game series more than American players. So yeah, so there we go. And I've played a couple of these highlight games on my channel. I played this version, the NES version here, and I also played an MSX2 version of this particular game too. The only minus all the magic. So yeah, so this game again not very popular, and I played it just because I had to also prove that I can play this game and also cap it too, since it does have a level cap. I mean, you cap at level 9, as so to speak, but it's only represented through your life bar, and that's on the upper right corner of the screen. And that white capacity bar just represents where you are at the current level, and you'll see all those ticks on the bottom portion of the graph that you can go up right up to level 9, not to the very right where it's level 10. Level 10 is interesting only reserved for strength, because you can get a little accessory that bolsters your attack power. But yeah,
Looks like this guy's bumping the enemies just like in the other game.
yep, it's the collision system. Only this time you have to hold a button down just to run, just so you can put yourself in attack mode to attack the enemies. Otherwise, the enemies will just wail on you, and they'll kill you in 2 or 3 seconds flat. But I played this particular version game for an event on my channel. No, not on, well, yeah, on my channel, but also on a Twitch-wide event called Jank Yuriy, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a slang term for games like this. They're called, which I mean, a bad game is called jank, and when you or any of the mechanics in the game that really take away from the enjoyment, they refer to it as the game being janky. So like it's like,
Right.
I think it might be a play on junk. But
Mm.
I'm not 100% certain on that one, but it is just a slang term that gamers like to use. So we had an event called Jankuary back in January of this year. It was hosted by another fellow another fellow streamer, and he's big in the emulation community. As a matter of fact, uh, he pretty much helped bolster the reputation of emulators across the internet at the time. His name is Zolfar, if you've heard of him.
Maybe. Kind of
He,
think I do.
yeah, he runs his own way. He had run his own webpage back in the 90s called Zolfar's Realm, or
Okay.
Zolfar's Domain, however you want to call it. Well, and it was pretty much a page that showcased the latest emulators for different systems.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just a lot of people showed appreciation of him for the fact that they could actually get emulators to play the games they've always wanted to play, but couldn't, because they just couldn't find out CDs or cartridges anymore. So there
Right.
you go.
Unless you
And
went to GameCon, which I
uh,
haven't even gotten to the. Now I just remembered. um, you do associate with a GameCon.
yes, we whenever there's a convention here in our city, there are retro video game vendors here. I mean, they do set up shop there. I mean, we have ones called Play and Trade, Primus Collectibles, and PNP Games. They
Mm-hmm.
specialize in a lot of retro stuff, excluding retro video games, and so they tend to have like a display case of all these Nintendo games out with price stickers on them, with some of the more prestigious titles behind even, yeah, I think thicker glass.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to see games like Final Fantasies 2, 3, Chrono Trigger, um, maybe even no, Secret of Mana. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those highly sought out after RPGs. I mean, you can see them in the display case. You can buy them, but they can run you up in a good of like maybe $100 to $500, depending
Or
upon,
1,000.
or 1,000, depending on
Jeez.
the scarcity of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so collecting retro RPGs is not a cheap hobby. You better have deep pockets and a lot of connections.
You also kind of dabble in pinball.
Yes.
Can you
As a matter of fact,
tell?
I'm also just wearing a pinball shirt today, just for the
Yes.
just for this special occasion.
So we talked a little bit yesterday about all the stuff you do. You don't own any pinballs, you said, but
No, I
you
only rent.
rent them out.
Yes.
So kind of explain how you rent out pinballs. I guess you work for a company that does have pinball machines to rent.
I don't necessarily work for the company. I just have good business relations with them because I rented from them before. And this is all for a convention that we have here in Winnipeg called the Keystone Convention, or Keycon for short. Now,
Hmm.
it's the convention gets its name because Manitoba is the keystone province that links the other western provinces with the eastern provinces here in Canada.
Okay.
And so the convention itself was founded in 1984, and it's still running to this very day. It is finished up its 41st incarnation earlier this year, and pinball began at this convention at its 30th year, which was back in
Hmm.
2013. At the time, I was already a long-standing convention attendee at Keycon. I mean, I first attended Keycon back in 2001 for Keycon 18, but as the convention was celebrating its 30th anniversary, I really felt that it was time that I wanted to provide my own contribution to the convention as a way of showing just a way of showing my personal gratitude to the convention staff and attendees for being gracious, for being gracious and friendly and accommodating to me all these years, because they actually provided a good space for like nerds like us just to hang out and have a good time. So
Right.
so at the time I was pretty much just working at a customer call service center, and I've actually just had a decent enough budget to put to the side for some for some like just for some matter for a vacation, or just to invest in some other good just in other good products for myself in the foreseeable future, since I just had one budget to help pay bills and another budget just for myself. So I used the budget I had reserved for myself, and to decide what I could use that to contribute to the convention. So I was running. I had ideas like running through my head all the time, and then I just came to the realization that while the convention itself was celebrating its 30th anniversary, um, there was another property that was celebrating its 50th anniversary. It was Doctor Who, the Doctor Who science fiction TV series,
Yeah.
and I came to the realization that there is a Doctor Who pinball machine out there, and
There is.
yes, from the maker from Bally. Um, so I decided is perhaps to help celebrate the 30th anniversary of the convention and the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, why not have a pinball of Doctor Who at the convention? So I decided to float the idea with the conchers at the time, and they were pretty enthusiastic about it. So they thought, oh, a pinball machine, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful to see at the convention. And then after that, I decided to get to work to see what distributors in the city have a Doctor Who pinball, if any, because at this point I was kind of gambling with the prospect of getting a landing machine at the convention, because I wasn't even sure if we still even had a Bally Doctor Who pinball, because the last time I've ever seen a Bally Doctor Who pinball was at at a local arcade near my parents' place back in 1992,
Yeah.
and I never even got a chance to even play the game at the time, because I think because the arcade operator set the payment to 50 cents instead of the usual 25 cents. So
Yeah. That's pretty much it. That was the trend. Newer pinballs got set to
yep,
50
yep,
cents or three plays for $1.
yep. That's pretty much how it is now. But anyways, getting back to my story here. So I've looked up some distributors, and I finally found one distributor who was operating out of Winnipeg. So I checked his website one day during lunch break at my workplace, and I checked his catalog, and sure enough, at the very bottom of the page in the pinball category, there was a Doctor Who, and I was like, "This is fortuitous." The guy has a Doctor Who machine. Now, the next step was to call. So I got on the phone, and I just pretty much used the company's phone in the break room to call, because they had it available for public calls within the city. So I just picked up the phone there, and nobody else was using it, and just gave the distributor a call and asked him, "Hello, do you have the Doctor Who pinball uh, available?" And he said, "Why, yes, I do." And then I asked him, "Is this machine of yours available for rent?" And he says, "Yes, it is. Would you be interested in renting the machine?" And I was like, "I am." I would love to have this machine for the Keycon convention for the 30th anniversary of the Keycon convention. So that year, Keycon was holding its event at the downtown Radisson Hotel. So I had to also then call up the hotel to see if it was okay for a pinball machine to be set up on the convention floor during the 3 days of the convention. And they said, that's fine. It just needs to make sure that it's not positioned in a way that it can block fire exits or anything like that. So it just can't block any
Yeah, you
any
pretty much have
emergency
to
exit.
set it up against the wall and not by an exit.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So therefore what I'd had to do, so I was talking to the guy over the phone and I asked him, okay, how much will it cost to rent the machine for 3 days? Because the Keycon convention was running for 3 days that time, and he said, well, it'll cost you $300. So it was $100 for the machine itself and $200 for labor and transport. So
Okay.
so from there, at my workplace, I just thanked him for my first time, and I told him I would follow up with him a little bit later once I get the ball rolling with this. So for the next few months, I put aside a part of my salary into this budget. That will be known as the Doctor Who pinball budget, and
Right.
so all he needed was $300. And of course, the distributor for the pinball, he didn't really want to take debit or credit. He wanted to be paid in cold hard cash. And I thought, okay, fair enough. So I just need to just withdraw like $300 bills, just slap it in his hand and say, there, just this is to
In
help.
Canadian money, of course.
In Canadian money, of course.
Because you're in Canada. American
That's
money is
right.
a little different. I guess
That's right.
exchange rate is not the same, I guess.
Yeah, and so anyways, so we didn't want to fast forward to the month of May where the convention was going to take place.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this long weekend called the Victoria Day Long Weekend, which was pretty much done in honor of Queen Victoria. But during that time, Canadians tend to go on vacation. So,
right.
But for people like us in Winnipeg who are like big sci-fi nerds and everything, we just tend to go to that convention and hang out for the full 3 days, which it just involves like attending panels, attending hospitality suites, which show different themes, which have like different sci-fi themes, and they serve you good food there too, and of course they can just dabble in all sorts of different pop culture stuff. So for the pinball itself, I then went to the hotel like a couple weeks prior to the convention just to scope out the floor to see where the pinball machine could be set up, and there was a decent spot on the 11th floor behind the stairway. I mean, it was just this big alcove behind the stairway where with some power outlets, which I believe was perfect to set the machine up. So I just ran it with the hotel staff to say that I would like to have the machine set up over here for the next 3 days, and they were pretty cool with it. And then from there, I also just contacted the con chairs by email, let them know that's where I want the pinball machine to be set up, and they were pretty cool with that too. So everything seemed to be going on. Everything was on track. So from there, I then also decided, wait, I don't just want to set up a pinball machine there. I also want to host a pinball tournament. So I thought, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I thought, I tried to think about doing a tournament bracket of sorts, but I felt that it kind of got a little too complex for me to set up. So I thought I'm just going to use a more simpler form, like a queue tournament, where you have your contestants write their registration name down on a list, and then by the day of the tournament, you just run down the list from top to bottom until everyone has played 3 balls on their turn. And but also for people to get interest in this tournament, I also needed to get prizes. So I took some extra salary that I had from my job, which I've also accumulated in my Keycon budget, and I went down to this one store it doesn't exist anymore. They long went out of business, but it used to be called Michael Rodin's Bed Bath and Accessories. The owner of the store, his name is not Michael Rodin. It was a different name, but anyways, he had all sorts of these different Bed Bath and accessories and toys which were themed to different retro pop culture, such as let me see, there was something for Monopoly, Garfield, Snoopy, and Peanuts, Doctor Who as well, since he had that stuff there, and also some classic Spider-Man, Speed Racer, Inhumanoids, He-Man, and the Masters of the Universe. A lot of retro pop culture stuff. Toys and accessories. He had it on his shelves. So I went up to him and told him, like, I'm just going to be here to get some Doctor Who merch, just for like a tournament. So he said, all right, we have some pretty good stuff here. So I just went around and got whatever I could with my budget, because I was willing to spend like upwards of up to $500 in prizes. So I went out and just got stuff like sonic screwdrivers, a fourth Dr. Tom Baker bobblehead. There was some ceramic stuff as well, but I didn't take the ceramics because I was afraid I could accidentally smash them on the roof. So there was like. They had like a TARDIS cookie jar. They had like a Dalek cookie jar, but I didn't take them because the ceramics were too fragile. There was also an inflatable TARDIS, but I didn't really want to get that because I was afraid I might accidentally puncture it and make it just flat. There was some. So again, sonic screwdrivers. There was like a bobblehead. I also took some figurines. There was also a giant throw rug that had the pattern of the TARDIS on it.
Yeah.
And a Doctor Who Monopoly game and a lunchbox. I want to get those. So I wound up spending like a roughly up to $450 in Doctor Who merch, and only Doctor Who merch, because I wanted to get like merchandise and theme with the machine for the tournaments to generate interest. So I nearly cleaned out this guy's Doctor Who merch, and with only the cookie jars and the inflatable TARDISes left, and that was it. He nearly had all of his Doctor Who stock completely gone as a result of me nearly buying out everything. And he was happy as a clam because I gave him the most business he's had in a long time. So I had to like carry like perhaps all these 3 or 4 major big extra large shopping bags that had all this stuff, and then just store it in my car until it was time for the convention. Then at the day of the convention, and during one day before the day of the convention, because I still had to book my hotel. I still had to get my hotel room set up as well. I had to give the operator specific instructions of where to go, because he had to go downtown. He had to go into the loading bay and bring the machine up the service elevator to the 11th floor, where it will then be stationed. Also, he also then told me, like a week before the event, that the Doctor Who machine was already on location at a boxcar diner, and the owner at the time was reluctant to give it up because there were people coming there to play the game. But at the end of the day, I gave the distributor the better offer. I was giving him $300 for 3 days with that machine, and so he's not going to turn down good money like that. So, and it was his machine at the end of the day, and at the end of the day as well. I mean, he didn't sign it. I mean, the owners of that boxcar diner didn't really sign any specific time frame contracts for how long that machine will be there. So he's allowed to come in and pick up the machine anytime he wants. So he came in, folded up the machine, put it in his truck, then had it sent over to the hotel for the loading bay, up the service elevator, and then just through the doors, and then set it up in the alcove. And then when I finally saw that Doctor Who machine set up, that Doctor Who machine set up in that alcove as I came down those stairs, it was gorgeous. And the concierge and a few of other friends of mine were already talking to the distributor, because he's not just a distributor, he also does maintenance work on the machine as well. So he was setting up the machine. I had a good conversation with him, gave him his 300 smackers, and he had the machine set to free play because I consider that a courtesy to all the convention attendees. You attend the convention, you can play the Doctor Who machine for free. So yeah, and the machine was set to free play all weekend, anyone could come up to play, and if they just wanted to kill some time between panels, there you go. Hit the start button, play your 3 balls, play another game if you want, and then move on. And then, and that's pretty much how Keycon Pinball got started. It's all started with that Doctor Who machine and a lot of good fortune just upon me that year.
Now, question: Am I looking at the right thing here? So Keycon is a celebration of keyboards?
This is not the same Keycon. No, you would have to look at keycon.org. That is that's the official site for the convention here in Manitoba.
So I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Wow.
Yeah. Don't worry.
I didn't even look at the description. It's Salt Lake City. Boy, that's just funny, by the way. Keycon, a convention about keyboards? Wow! I never knew such a thing existed.
And even I didn't know such a thing existed. I thought only Winnipeg had the exclusive name of Keycon, but no, there's another Keycon now that with that's dabbles in all things keyboards and stuff.
My goodness. Okay, let me see if this is one. This is. I was hoping a walkthrough from one of these cons. Well, I guess we have to go all the way back to 1990. Good night. No, I can't. That's not going to work either. Well, cruddy. Yeah, I'm looking for a video. Maybe this will work. Let me throw this one up here.
Okay, let's take a look.
This is somebody who walked through, but I'm going to jump it. Yes, here we go.
That's the one. So yeah, this is the hotel that Keycon Pinball was set up in. It's the Radisson downtown. We're no longer there anymore. We had switched venues a couple of years ago, but this is still a highlight of what you see from the Keycon convention of years prior.
This is 2016, I believe.
Yeah, so 30. So that would be Keycon 33.
Yes.
So I did have my pinball room back then, but also I had rented 3 machines that year. One was Doctor Who, another one was Addams Family, and I believe the third one was Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay. How good are you at pinball?
Not very good.
Okay. What is your favorite pinball?
Godzilla.
Which one?
The Stern one. The one that came out a few years ago.
Okay, the very recent one. Here we go. Now we're looking at a trot through the convention floor, probably before the doors, or maybe just maybe I don't know.
That's the vendor's room.
I don't know how busy it is or what time of day this was.
Day one. That's day one. Yeah, so people at day one are just usually settling in. All the major activity. All the major bustling activity tends to be on Saturday,
So this is Friday.
Yeah, Friday when everyone is just settling into the convention.
Okay, that's when I usually get the most mileage out of.
Yeah, Gymcon. Okay. Yeah, the one you see here is Gymcon. That's a local board game convention, but it's been long since rebranded as Gametoba. So
yeah,
I was looking like a pun on Manitoba in game. So that's more of a tabletop section of the convention itself. I think my pinballs might appear here somewhere. I'm not sure if
I'm looking,
because I know that the machines were set up there on the Friday of that year.
It doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it. Okay, that's a little unfortunate because I had my machine set up over there. Because I definitely remember it was Addams Family and Doctor Who, and the third one I believe was Star Trek: The Next Generation. So if there's a day 2 and a day 3 video, we could take a look at it to see if them have been here and there.
I'll find something. I'm just kind of looking around to see.
Yeah.
Was there besides the pinballs, were there arcade games there? Or
no, I couldn't. I didn't have the budget to get more arcade.
Well, maybe not you supplied the arcade games, but did somebody else do it?
I didn't. I don't. Okay, in terms of arcade games, nobody brought in a cabinet. If we were
Okay.
playing arcade games, they were going to be run via emulator via MAME, and there was an arcade. I had an arcade stick that I did bring to the convention up for a few years, just so people can at least have the closest to an arcade experience as possible.
This is
So I used
another part of the convention, I believe. Unless this is a
mm,
different one.
this looks like a different one. I think this might be Winnipeg Comic Con or C4.
It is.
Yeah, Winnipeg
Yeah,
Comic Con
it
2016.
is.
Yeah, that was at the time known as C4 Central Canada Comic Con. So
Okay.
it was the big convention in Winnipeg at the time. The original event holder had kind of stopped doing it, and now it's in the hands of a different group from Montreal that stepped in to do their own division for their convention called, but now it's just called Winnipeg Comic Con. So that is happening later this month. So which I will be attending. Maybe the amusement distributor that I tend to talk with now it will be there. I'm not sure, but we'll see. But in any case, yeah. So pinball at Keycon had been a staple ever since. So just this previous at the previous Keycon convention, Keycon 41, I was able to land a very good machine that I was not supposed to originally get because the arcade operator was making good money on it, and that
Yeah.
machine was Dungeons and Dragons: The Tyrant's Eye. So
Yeah, that's pretty recent.
yeah, that's a recent one, and it is it is pretty much a pinball machine that's also an RPG adventure. So you pretty
Yeah.
much make different shots to go on quests to fight monsters and collect items. So when you're playing the machine, you're not just playing pinball; you're actually playing a good a role playing game in pinball form. That's the gimmick for that particular machine. So I had rented that machine early this year for Keycon 41, and it went over like gangbusters. People really loved that machine. They were glued to it. The kids loved it, and yeah, and I have to mention the kids. The kids are always gaga for the pinballs. It's the one thing they look forward to every year when they attend the Keycon convention.
All right, we're over 2 hours so far. I'm gonna kind of run through some other famous RPGs, and I'll let you comment on each one.
All
Did
right.
you ever play? Actually, I'm gonna jump back because this is gonna show my age even more. Did you ever play the multi-user dungeon games on? Gosh, main for these were popular. They were text-based adventures that people would play on the internet on a terminal.
Yes, they're called MUDs for short,
Yes,
and I have
MUDs.
played. Yeah, I played a few of them. There was one called Whispers of Time's Lost. That one's long defunct, but it was my first foray into MUDs. And if you don't have a very good internet connection and you don't have any games to play online with people, those things were a godsend. You would at least go into your terminal, log in, and then all of a sudden you have have your user stats in a little command bar, and you just interact with other people as if you were in another RPG. And it was very engaging, all things considered. And also I played another one I've also played was the Alien versus Predator mod back in the day.
Okay.
And I tried another one called Achaea, which is spelled like ACHAEA, which I believe still runs to this day. But you'd
Yeah.
have to and that one is very detailed, and it still has an active user and mod base to this day that always provides new and exciting things to try out. But nowadays, my work schedule doesn't allow me just to try out like mods casually. Now, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
even sure if I'm going to try it on my RPG Capper stream because the thing is that it's a fine balancing act for me every day now. So I tend to stream 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And so I just pretty much just stream my RPGs. Then I have to do other things in life, such as pretty much go to my work, help out around the house, get some chores done, visit my family. So it's a fine balancing act between the two.
All right. So we got that out of the way because I did play the MUDs back in the day, although they were Aber muds. Initially, they were Deku muds. So those two major types of MUDs back in the day were the ones that I played, even coded one.
Okay.
Um, Northern Lights was basically the Abermud that I pretty much gravitated to, although it's kind of hard to connect because Telnet doesn't seem to. Telnet ports seem to be blocked on most modern internet
Yeah.
service providers, but
Yeah. I haven't used Telnet in a long time.
that's how you access them.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me run through some of the franchises that are well known in the RPG community.
Mhm.
Wizardry.
Yes, I played Wizardry, but I've only played the Nintendo version of it, and it is as much of a nightmare to play as people have said. Your guys can get killed off very quickly.
Yeah.
You can the leveling, and here's the interesting part: there is no level cap in that game. The leveling process goes
No.
on indefinitely. But I've noticed that your stats tend to roughly stop building around the level 20 mark. So I'm presuming that if there was anything that can be presumed to be a cap of sorts, I would say level 20. But and I'm not 100% certain if I'm going to give that a game and try, because that might defeat the purpose of me being the RPG capper if I'm going to play a game that cannot be capped. But I would have to leave that up to up to viewers and the other fans of the channel to decide if they still want me to do something, and then they decide on a level cap of their own as a part of a collective to determine what I need to reach, if that would be satisfying to their standards. That's an exception to the rule that I'm willing to make if they want me to play Wizardry. But yes, I have played Wizardry, but only Nintendo version. I've never played the original Apple II version, unfortunately, but I would like to play it these days. But there is also one other thing about that game that just rubs me the wrong way. There are certain enemies that you can face that not only can take away full experience out of you, they can take away entire levels. They can take away.
Wow.
I once played the game, and I was facing up against like a gang of vampires on the 6th floor in the of the Mad Overlord's dungeon, and in one of their attacks, I got a med command that says, "You have lost 3 levels," and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I spent a good chunk of time building those levels, and now you're just gonna take off those levels in the blink of an eye." And honestly,
wow.
as a role player, it's mortifying, and it knocks the wind out of you. It just completely. I always look at leveling up as a reward for a job well done, for a reward for all the endurance, all the grinding, all the work that goes into development of that particular of your character towards the accomplishment of their final goal, like towards the betterment of your character. When a character levels up, that's a threshold that's been passed, and they have new stats for it. They have new stats. They have new abilities. Something that rewards you for all your hard work and effort. And then when you have an enemy that takes away all that hard work and effort and all the skills in a blink of an eye, just because it's part of the game, it doesn't sit. It just really feels like the purpose has been defeated. And I get it. Now, I know it was made in the 1980s where role-playing games were looked upon differently then than they are now. But in all honesty, that's also one of the major things that I'm reluctant to tackle upon. It's also one of the reasons why I'm reluctant to try the game on RPG Capper. But unless I can find a good workaround where I don't have to face against these particular enemies that can take away entire levels, because I still look at leveling up as a reward for all your hard work and efforts. That's the way I just see it.
Ultima.
I have tried Ultima, not on the computer, but I played an NES port called Ultima Exodus, which is supposed to be, I believe, the 3rd game in the series, where your characters are facing off against the Great Demon Exodus. It almost has the NES version almost has like a Dragon Warrior type vibe to it, but interestingly enough, yes, it actually goes in different modes. You have like an overhead, like an overhead exploration mode where you can just run into enemies and just go into a battle screen. But there's also like a first-person dungeon crawl exploration mode where you just move through 90-degree wall dungeons and just trying to find your way around. Similar in that in Wizardry, since the map in Wizardry was just 90-degree dungeons, and you had to use graph paper to know where you're going. So there's that. But one of the drawbacks to the Ultima games is that you cannot run from battle. Once you get into a battle, you have to fight your way out. And if your guys are too weak and you run out of healings, magic items, or anything, I mean, you're screwed. You can't do much of anything about that. So you have to really strategize your battles properly when you're playing that game. But again, only Ultima game I've ever played was Ultima 3 Exodus for the Nintendo European system, but at some point I do want to try the other titles in the franchise.
The Tales series that covers a number of different games. The one for the GameCube is Tales of Symphonia.
Mm-hmm. So for Tales, I've only played like two entries in the series so far. The first game, Fantasia, which was never released on the Super Nintendo, but it was released on the Super Famicom. I played a fan translation of it. I didn't have time to finish that game though, because apparently real life took over, so I was forced to in that game midway. And then there's Tales of Eternia, which was released in the US as Tales of Destiny 2 for the Sony PlayStation. But Tales of Eternia did get released. Get re-released under its original title in the UK, in Japan and in the UK. There is an English translation for it, and I'm currently playing that one on my channel. Next, that is the action RPG that I'm playing on my channel, with the turn-based RPG being Final Fantasy II. So yeah, so I am currently in the middle of that one, and the cap for Tales of Eternia is set to 250. So there's a lot to go through before I can reach that goal. So it's going to be a long haul to get to that goal, but I've agreed, but I promised a fan viewer that I was going to tackle that game, and I've kept that promise. So yeah.
Earthbound.
Yes, Earthbound I have played. I've played a little bit of the Super Nintendo version back in the day at a friend's house, and I've also played the prototype version of it, which is actually actually I wouldn't call it a prototype. It was actually a finished release, but it did not get released in the US at the time. There was a version of it on the NES it was just called Earthbound, but it was scrapped for release at the last moment. But it's been re-released in recent years and called Earthbound Beginnings. But yes, Earthbound I have played both the first version on the NES and the Super Nintendo version. Yeah. Fun game.
Fire Emblem.
Only the first version, only the first game on the Famicom through a fan translation. And I played that at a LAN cafe way back. So it's a pretty interesting game, but I do need to give it a bit more of a go so I can at least have an understanding of the mechanics before I start playing it full time on RPG Capper. Go.
Gosh, it's a whole slew of RPGs for the PC. Kind of one that I played. Oh gosh, Heroes Quest or Quest for Glory.
Quest for Glory.
That was for PC, but there's 5 in the series. I played that. They're all RPGs.
Yeah, I have not tried the Quest for Glory series. I've seen them. I've heard of them. I have all
Sierra.
I have a parody version of that game on my Steam account called Quest for Infamy. I haven't tackled that one yet. Yeah, but no, I haven't tried the Quest for Glory series yet, but I have every intention of it too, because I do like those kinds of like interactive adventure games like King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, Leisure Suit Larry. I like those types of games because Sierra makes those. Sierra has a really good sense of humor for those games, and it's also thanks to the efforts of Ken and Roberta Williams, who actually gave us those wonderful games to play over the years.
Kind of the precursor to a lot of games, and some of the EMUDs were based on this. Zork.
Yes, I've played Zork, only the first one. I still to this day have not beaten it because apparently I don't sometimes I just get lost. And you know what? But it is a text adventure, so I have to just fiddle around with the different commands to see what goes where. And I hate
Mhm.
the fact that all your treasures that you get in that game get stolen by a thief by
Yeah.
random, so you can't get the perfect score. So you have to keep reloading your save file to do that. But one of these days, I do intend on finishing up Zork and the first Zork game, getting the perfect giving the perfect score on the save file, and then move on to its subsequent entries because I want to get through all those games one of these days.
Star Tropics.
Yes, I played Star Tropics. I actually completed it. Yeah, and it's pretty good. So it actually has a bit of a Zelda-like system to it. And of course, you have your guy, your protagonist, armed with a magic yo-yo that goes around, just kicking it, just beating up enemies left, right, and center. And I do. It is a wonderful little adventure game that I managed to beat back in the day. I also had a chance to play its sequel called Zola's Revenge, which
Mhm.
unlike in the first game where you go from hop from island to island in search of your missing uncle, in the second game it kind of takes on a bit of a Doctor Who flair. So you go through different time periods just to stop an evil alien overlord from rising back to power. It's a pretty interesting game, and I love it.
Speaking of evil overlords, the Diablo series.
Diablo series, I've only played. Okay, I've only managed to play the first Diablo game on PC back in the day on a neighbor's computer, and I definitely enjoyed it. Even though you have one of the biggest drawbacks of the game is that you have to constantly keep attacking enemies by clicking your mouse, and it was like
Yeah,
click, click, click,
I
clickety click,
know.
and it was kind of making my fingers numb. But I still found it playable. I still enjoyed what I liked, and I did like the fact that the dungeons were always randomly generated, so it's never the same game twice. So I definitely enjoyed Diablo for what it's worth, and I'm hoping to also just have a chance to play the subsequent entries in the series, so 2, 3, and the recent 4, which I heard was a pretty good game.
Super Mario RPG.
Interestingly enough, I have not played Super Mario RPG. I want to play it, but I just could never get around to time to play it. I couldn't even rent the game back in the day because it was always rented out.
Yeah.
But everyone who's played says it's a fantastic game, and it's just with the different type of feature with the button features that get implemented, which just allow you to pull off special attacks. It just gives that game just a wonderful little interactive edge to it. So I do want to play the Super Mario RPG on Super Nintendo, as well as the remake on the Switch that came out a few years ago, as well as the Paper Mario series, because Paper Mario is also an RPG that was just that was also be the spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. So I want to be able to play it all, Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario.
Kadash, which was an arcade game,
Yes,
but was translated for the consoles.
yes, I have played Kadash for the Genesis and for the arcade. There is also a TurboGrafx 16 version as well that was released for it. Kadash. So yeah, so I know. So it is an arcade RPG, although it is very action oriented for obvious reasons. I only had the chance at the time just to play as the fighter, which is like the first option to choose from the different party members, because you can also play as a wizard, you can play as a ninja, and as a priestess. The priestess actually has a long chain, which makes it easier for you to attack enemies because of her long reach. But
Right.
yeah, but I definitely have played Kadash. It's a wonderful game. Also want to give it a chance to give it a try on my channel one of these days, probably just for part of an anniversary event or something.
Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus, yes, I played the NES version and a game and its Game Boy sequel. I haven't actually tried any of the other Kid Icarus versions. I think there was another version that came out on the Wii on the Nintendo Wii, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've played the Nintendo version a lot. It's a tough
It's
game.
actually the 3DS.
Oh, the 3DS. Okay, yeah. Thanks for clarifying. So yeah, but the only Kid Icarus game that I played the most was the original Nintendo game. It's fun, but man, is it difficult because you could you would have to start all the way from the very beginning of this stage if you actually fall off. And there are some vertical strolling stages, and you have to maintain your balance with every jump, or because you fall off, you got to start all over again. But I still
Yeah, that's pretty much the first um, area is probably the one that's going to give you the most problems.
Yep.
Shoot. There's all sorts of RPGs out there, but that's the well-known ones that I just rattled off the top of my head. The modern, oh gosh, it's been a lot of recent RPGs, but I
Oh yeah.
couldn't
There's,
rattle some off the top of my head
oh,
besides Final Fantasy.
there's
Um,
plenty of RPGs I want to give it a try. I still want to try the Kingdom Hearts series. There is this beautiful, beautiful RPG that's designed like a Studio Ghibli animation. If you're familiar with this studio, it's called uh, Nino Kuni. That's the one, and it pretty much just follows the story of a young boy and this forest sprite as they try to stop this evil queen from taking over the world. It seems like a cliche storyline, but the presentation is so beautiful, and I have it on Steam, and hopefully, if I get a strong enough internet connection, I can pretty much just look at playing that on RPG Capper one of these days too. Oh
all
yeah,
right. Well, so we're kind of it's now 10:30. I kind of gonna start winding this down.
yeah.
Um, you're in Canada. Any arcades you frequent up there?
Yes, there is an arcade we have here called Phantom Amusement, and that is the arcade that I now rent all my machines from every year for Keycon. Its
Mhm.
owner he's very very transparent and with all of his customers, and also he's transparent, very reliable, and he always gives you very clear price points for everything that he has in his stock. He just pretty much does all the dirty work for you. Provides
Mhm.
the net rental service fees for any rentals that you want to do from his arcade. That's where I rented the Dungeons and Dragons machine from. Also just rented some other pinball machines like the Jaws pinball machine, Deadpool, the John Wick pinball.
Mhm.
And also there's one based off Star Trek based on this 2009 movie for it. And yeah, he's very accommodating, friendly, always on hand to check his messages for any major business offers. So yeah, that's the arcade that I frequent whenever I get the time to go there. And yeah, so Phantom Amusements is one. There is another arcade in the city that is open up called Smash and Axe, which is not just an arcade with pinballs, but they also have axe throwing rooms, smash rooms where you
Yeah.
can just get a baseball bat. You could smash all sorts of stuff like glass bottles, old television sets, VCRs, just to help let off some steam whenever you're in a bad mood.
Yeah, I need to visit one of those places because I've got a lot of angst and I've not had much opportunity to smash something. I tend not to break stuff, but I would like to at some point like to smash something because of all the problems I have. Maybe chasing scores, or maybe oh, the technical problems I have to deal with for my real
Mm-hmm.
job.
Yep, when that stress builds up, you just want to get a baseball bat and start smashing stuff. And
Yeah.
that's where you can go.
Have you ever heard of the Goblin Ghost Arcade?
Yes, I have. I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen it like on internet on like internet articles, and I follow it on Twitch. So yeah, so every time they go live, I like to check them out. So just recently, they were doing something with Metal Slug at the arcade.
That was today.
Yes.
Um, yes, Jeremiah was chasing a score on that one. They pick a game, and so I will say I was going to bring this up on the backside, but Gavin Ghost has been issuing out new challenge cards.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 10 challenges. You start with the AAA card if you're a newcomer, and then try to complete all 10 challenges. Then you move up to the next level, and they give you a level 2 and a level 3.
Okay.
They'll also give you a personalized card. If you've been there a while and set a lot of scores, they'll give you a personalized card. I have my personal. Uh, I completed a level 1 last year. I have a level 2 still incomplete, but they issued new cards Oh gosh, I can't even hold the thing. Just trying to tumble with my fingers. So there's a new challenge card for the season 2, and right now I have 6 out of my 10.
Mm-hmm.
They had to replace one of the challenges because the game wasn't working. Last year, it took forever to complete my level 1 because one of the 10 games had been down for quite some time, and it was Food Fight because the stick had issues. And when I finally got it fully fixed, then I was able to complete the challenge.
Hmm.
But I had
Okay.
to wait quite a while for, and but it would work for a little bit, and then directions would not respond, and it's like you can only like play for a couple of plays before the joystick failed, and then
Mm.
they had to go mess with it again. But they finally
Mm.
got the thing 100%, and I could keep going until I eclipsed the goal, the score goal. Um,
All right.
I'll show this off, but
Mhm.
they're not. Well, this is my last year's card. Let me hold it up there. On
Okay.
this card, I'm gonna zoom in to this one. Samurai Showdown, Emergency Call Ambulance, eSWAT, Riot, Hypersports, which is track and field, the real track and field 2, Dragon Gun, Dead Connection, Police Trainer 2, Andrew Donos, and Robotron. Those
Okay.
were my level 2 challenges. Do I want to show my new card? Because they're not showing off the new cards. You have to go get one.
Okay.
But
So holding
I've
it up.
completed. I guess I'll run through the games. Whatever. They're already attacking the card. I know they are. Karate Champ, Trojan. The game they were Terminator 2 was on my card. The guns were having a problem, so they replaced it with Carnival. Rolling Thunder, Gemini Wing, RoboCop, Joust, POW, Knights of the Round, and Super Don Quixote, which is a
Super.
laser disc game.
Oh, Super Don Quixote. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not giving out the scores on my card, but you'll have to figure that out on your own. But those are the 10 games on my card. I have 6 of them. The ones I have left are giving me a bit of trouble. Of
Hmm.
course, I'm not real great at Laserdisc games to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have to complete these 10 challenges. Now, if somebody else completes the 10 challenges before I do, they're going to throw another one on this. And I have to complete it before I can move on to the level 2. But I got this card last weekend because I was finally able to get up to Galvin Ghost after a 6-week gap from my last visit. And I
Mm-hmm.
went up 3 times in the same week, which was a 200-mile commute up and 200-mile commute back. I went up
Mm-hmm.
so often I wore out my previous vehicle and I had to get a new one. Literally, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Car maintenance is yikes.
Well, it
Oh,
dropped dead, so
mhm.
it had to be basically sent to the scrap yard. Literally,
No.
or turned
No.
into a mechanic special. It was traded in, so I
Okay.
got a new ride now, so it does better than my previous one. But I don't know when I'm gonna get back up there. But
Mm.
I got 4 challenges left to go, and I'm probably gonna have to practice a few of these. POW
Okay.
is gonna be the worst one to get. It's a hard beat 'em up. But are there any RPGs in this? Knights of the Round is kind of a quasi RPG.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Knights of the Round. I do believe that you can earn like instead of regular points, it's experience points whenever you beat enemies,
Yeah,
and then your final then the leaderboard just shows your total XP you collected in the
yes,
game like that. Similar with King of Dragons,
yeah,
and I believe also the Dungeons and Dragons arcade games as well.
yes. And there's probably a few others that are kind of like that. Obviously, Kadash, we've mentioned earlier, they don't have a
Yes.
score, it's just experience points, but it does cap.
Okay, yeah, that's one other thing. I remember in last night's conversation, I mentioned Lightbringer slash aka Dungeon Magic.
Yeah, I remember that one myself. Oh, look at who's here. Somebody's here. Welcome, Fozzie 5000. Popping in. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, Lightbringer was, yeah, kind of a 3D. There's another one, Gauntlet. This is
Gauntlet is
a Gauntlet series, although it's pretty much points. You don't level on this. You just kind of build up your health
don't
over
shoot the
time.
food. Don't shoot the food.
No, don't shoot the food. Don't shoot the potions either.
Yeah.
Uh, although Gauntlet Legends was more RPG because then you were leveling up and then you had could save the game and
Yeah.
resume progress later.
Yeah, so well, Gauntlet's definitely something to look into. I mean, I've only ever played, in terms of Gauntlet, I've only ever played the first one on the arcade as well as the NES Gauntlet. So those
Yeah.
were the only gauntlets I've ever played. Now, Gauntlet is, it is if you don't really know what you're doing, that game will slaughter you.
Yeah.
It'll slaughter you. You got to make sure you know where all the food and the potions are. Otherwise, you will be dogpiled on by those enemies very quickly.
Gauntlet 2, pretty much the same way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I've showed off the Twitch stream link. When are you streaming next?
The next stream I'm going to be setting for this Sunday at roughly around 11 a.m. Central Time. And the next stream will be the next. It'll be the next one for Tales of Eternia, since like I said, I interchanged between one day for Final Fantasy II, and next day for Tales of Eternia until one of the games is capped and cleared. And once the game is capped, then I just go to the final dungeon, clear out the final boss, and then end the game. Then we move on to the next RPG after that in that particular category. So.
Right.
Yeah, so Tales of Eternia, I have a long ways to go. Final Fantasy II may be finished in perhaps, I believe, 3 or 4 streams, give or take. I'll have to see how good the progress goes. So yeah. So the Tales of Eternia will be the next playthrough this Sunday, an RPG capper at 11 a.m. Central Time. So yeah, you'll see the cartoon Bottle Cap back in action as he's going to tackle that game and maybe even win a match of Craymel Ball this time around. If
Craymel Ball.
You'd have to watch the video to understand. I'll just describe it as best as I can. It's a mini game in that RPG where you have to deal with this oversized beach ball rolling around the rink, and you have to shoot it out at your opponent and crush them 3 times in order to win the round.
Okay.
And you have to win, I believe, 3 rounds in order to be victorious. And I think if I were to be victorious and I win some particular item or a title for my character, I don't know, because I'm doing that game blind out of a viewer request. So I'm going to be playing some more RPGs blind in the future because I haven't played every RPG in existence. So some blind playthroughs will happen, and some interesting interactions with those games will happen as a result. Stay tuned.
All right. I think that's everything. I hope I didn't forget something. All right. So RPG _ Capper. If you haven't followed him, those watching, please follow him. You're relatively new. You're about streamed as long as I have on the Twitch platform, although I've been making videos for YouTube much longer than this. Just not on gaming, of course.
I mean, my channel is still in its freshman year. I mean, it will be. I mean, the second year of RPG Capper is expected to be a lot bigger with more visuals, more emojis, more subscriber rewards. I mean, it's gonna be. It's still a growing channel. That's as much I'll give it. So we're still in its first year. But as the second year rolls around, we're expected to see some more bigger and wonderful things happening in that channel.
All right. Yuriy, Roman, Mokriy.
Mokriy.
Mokriy. Yes.
Yeah.
The last name was in. I would never have pronounced your last name without help. No way,
Glad to help.
because of how it was spelled. It was like I couldn't figure out, and I've had to figure out a lot of names, uh, as part of my job.
No worries, no worries. These things happen.
All right. Have you ever been to America? I mean, come
Yes.
into the United States?
I've been to America several times. I've been to Grand Forks, North Dakota. I've been to Shakopee, in Shakopee, Minnesota, for the Valley Fair festival there. I also have, and my sister. I mean, I have a sister who lives in Long Beach, so we will tend to visit them every few years or so, and yeah, and so yeah, I do go to the United States every now and then just to visit with family, or just to, or maybe even if some friends just want just to do like a road trip or sorts, I could just go on.
All right. Maybe someday you'll make it down to Galpin Ghost Arcade in Chicago.
Yeah, yeah. One
I
of these days,
think-
I definitely want to pay a visit to the Ghost.
Yes. And if you come, be sure to block out a couple of days, because it takes, for a first time visitor, 2 full days to get the full experience for a first timer going on
Oh,
3. Yeah, there are over 1,000 games on the floor. So
Ooh, 1,000 games. Wow.
yes,
I'll
yes,
never want to leave.
no, but my job makes me want to leave, makes
Mm-hmm.
me leave, and sometimes frustration and fatigue also takes a toll, and I have to call it a night. But
Mhm.
anyway, Yuriy, I want to thank you for coming on the Crimeycade podcast, and
Thanks for having me.
we haven't covered RPGs on this pod, although we did talk Zelda with once before. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we covered a bunch of other RPGs, and I played some of them, so good
Cool.
times.
Cool. Yeah, I'm always up for talking about RPGs, whatnot. Maybe one of these days we can even talk about some of the stuff that goes on in tabletop. Even though I've only scratched the surface on tabletop, but well, we could. I don't know. Maybe one of
I
these
haven't
days.
played. Yeah, I don't play the tabletop RPGs, but I know they're a presence at the game conventions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, okay, maybe I don't know if I were decide to if you ever decide to have me back on a future stream, we can pretty much talk about that and maybe any other RPGs that have come across that have come my way since then, and then yeah, we'll talk turkey about that.
All right, Yuriy.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming on, and
welcome.
hopefully I'll see you around the arcade soon.
It's cool. I'm hoping to see you as well. I'm hoping to see you as well, Steve. Thanks.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Take care.
All right. That is RPG Capper, and be sure to follow him on his Twitch channel, RPG_Capper. So before I get out of here, and I'm going to throw this back up here real quick, there's a few more items I'm gonna get the wrong screen up. Few minor things I needed to cover before I get out of here. Throw this back up if I can find it. Where is my screen? Trying to throw the slideshow back up. There it is. All right, quick recap. Wow, not really much of a change here, but I will. Yeah, I'm trying to hide this. There we go. Not much of a change here, but we're into October. I've covered this already. Arcade Wars, What Up Arcade in Brisbane, Australia, is pretty much back, and they were the winners in the Gigawing Battle of the Arcades for this month. So the October game has not been announced yet. Good grief, I couldn't find anybody else to play this one. I had to step up and play Gigawing. There are, believe it or not, there are shoot 'em up RPGs, I believe, but off the top, Guardian Legend would fit that description. By the way, gosh, next weekend, I won't be able to go to this, but Rock River Valley Video Game Convention in Rockford, Illinois. Cliff Breakers Conference Center at 700 West Riverside Boulevard. I've had the organizer of that convention on this pod previously for the convention round. That begins the week because for a full week, almost a full week of gaming convention, because the following, starting Wednesday, is the 41st annual Pinball Expo in Chicago, Illinois, specifically Schaumburg. At the welcome party on Wednesday, and the convention goes to the 18th. They have final playoffs for the pinball tournaments on Sunday, but I'll only be able to go for 2 days this year, unfortunately, Thursday and Friday. Then I have to go to the Tater Tot convention down in the St. Louis area, and I need to pull up a graphic for that and throw it into this presentation. It's more of a Comic-Con, the Tater Tot convention, but Stern Pinball is always a big presence there. You're always getting the debut of a new pinball machine to show up at the Pinball Expo. Of course, Rob Burke brings some really rare machines from the Pastimes Pinball and Arcade out in Youngstown, Ohio, or Girard, Ohio. And of course, the Midwest Gaming Classic. Jeez. Yeah, the tickets are on sale. The VIG packages are on sale now. I'm probably going to have to get one even sooner than I tend to get at the end of the year, but I may have to buy it even sooner than this. But next week is still up in the air. Will I do a podcast next week? I don't know. I might preempt the podcast next week. I'm certainly not going to be doing a podcast on October 16th because I will be at the Pinball Expo. But will I do a podcast next week? That's still up in the air because I might be doing something else that night. I might be volunteering somewhere to do Halloween decorations. So that'll do it for the Crimeycade podcast. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. But I will be rating the channel. I do have somebody picked out. I will be rating, and get that screen up here, because I got all this stuff up here. I can't see anything. I believe I am going to be rating Matt Buck, who is playing Donkey Kong. Let's make sure he's still going. Yeah, he just started. So I'm going to give him a rate this month, and I'll see you maybe next week, maybe in a couple weeks. I certainly need a guest, and if anybody's got suggestions on who I can book for the next Crimeycade, please help me out with that. But until next time, I am the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter, and have a good night, everybody.